One team's Atlanta major journey ends today. NIP coming off 2 devastating losses to their regional rivals, and now an NA team could send them back home to Brazil. Now for SSG, they have had a difficult path, losing to titans like BDS and W7M, but they narrowly escaped elimination after they sent Scars back home to Japan in a grueling, passionate 3-mapper. Do they have momentum on their side, or is this the end of their Atlanta major ride? I am Jackie Jing with Jesse and Fresh. Very excited about this matchup. You know, honestly, I'm a little bit nervous about how their 2 playstyles are going to line up. Fresh, I want to talk to you about that a little bit more. I mean, Brazil and NA matches, always very interesting in my opinion.
Yeah, they're always very interesting because you normally anticipate North America being a little bit slower and Brazil being very fast. It's kind of the same approach, but flipped.
Yeah,
because NIP for a Brazilian team very, very slow, and SSG for an NA team are very, very fast. So still the same kind of matchup, but flipped in the styles.
Yeah, we already broke NA hearts once today. It may happen again, too, with Spacestation Gaming going home if they do lose this one. For Brazil, it's kind of the opposite. They've already got 3 teams into the top 8. NIP would be the final team if they can win their next 2 games.
Yeah, I also want to talk about the mental game of both of these teams. NIP's biggest enemy has always been themselves. So much pressure in this elimination match, too. The strength of their mental game today, I believe, will determine their fate, Fresh.
Yeah, and the strength of their mental is one of the things that's come into question. You can go all the way back to when NIP, very different roster, but when they won the 6th Invitational. Ever since then, they've kind of faltered, and mental has been a big part of it. I believe they brought a psychologist with them to this event, which kind of proves that to them. They feel that that is a very big issue for them, and if they can fix that, and, you're at the top level of any sport, and this applies to sports, esports, everything. When the mental's good, that's like 90% of the battle. Because all of these guys can shoot. It's just about whether they can mentally get over the hurdles.
Yeah, I also feel that for NIP, they've had some struggles with the maps they've been going to these last couple of games, right? It feels like NIP came into this event with a really deep map pool, some great strategies they wanted to bring on maps like Bank and other maps that they've been playing throughout this tournament. They played more games, however, so far than any other team at this event, tied with that record. Yet they've only played on 5 different maps, which means they've been showing a lot of the maps over and over again. I thought yesterday they really got read by Los, and that came to hurt them. So it's really going to depend on kind of how things go between these 2 teams. If we get another kind of repeat map from NIP, they may be in a bit of hot water.
They don't make things very easy for themselves, do they? You said they played the most rounds out of anybody. Tough group stage, all the way into the lower bracket games, or not lower bracket, but lower end of the Swiss stage. Playing best of 3s today, maybe even tomorrow to get through. M&M played a lot of rounds in Copenhagen. NIP aren't far off already topping that, and we were still only in Swiss.
Okay, actually, we are ready to move into the map band selection process. I'm going to ask you all another question, but I'm like, let's get ready. Let's get that information up and thoughts.
Cool. So we've got Border, Oregon, and Clubhouse. Now, the approach here is very, very different for the 2 teams in the way that they want to pick the maps. So first and foremost, we've got NIP picking a map into Border. So this was their highest preference map that's been available at this event. So they've not really read too much into SSG. They've just gone for what's comfortable with themselves.
And they've also kind of followed my advice, which is that they're picking a map that they haven't played yet. They have not shown their strategies, at least at this event. They do like Oregon. They played it once, of course, throughout the BR6 stage. I believe they took down Black Dragon 7-4, so they are pretty comfortable on Border. But ultimately, it's also pretty good for Space Station. 6-1 record this season. Their first loss this year came in the Atlanta LCQ Grand Finals, but they did fall 7-5 to Mirage.
Then we're going to go on to Oregon. Now, this is where things get a little bit different in the banning strategy for the 2 teams. Because SSG, we know them as a very counter-heavy team. They've countered themselves, in a sense. Because they've picked into their 9th preference map. By preference, they do not want to go to Oregon. It's their least preference map. Although I will say, SSG played not all 9 maps. It's very close. However, NIP also hit the map. It's their 8th preference. It's usually a permaban, so it's a very counter-heavy pick in my opinion.
Yeah, and I do like this pick a lot from Space Station, right? Because they've really done well with it throughout Stage 1, especially 6-2 record on the year. This stage, they do have some split results. Obviously, they did beat Dark 0-7-2, lost to Wildcard, which ended their run in the NAL playoffs, so that was a tough map for them. As you mentioned, though, not a good map for Ninjas in Pyjamas, Oregon. In Stage 2, they're 2-1, but they lost to Keed Stars, they lost to Sandbox. I mean, beat those teams. They were really close games against opponents you probably shouldn't be going close against.
And then in terms of preference, the decider of Clubhouse, it's going to be a very middle of the road. It's NIP's number 5 preference, SSG's number 4 preference. NIP have not played it, I don't think, in Stage 2 onwards. However, we've seen SSG a lot on this map, it was an SSG stronghold, in former years. They've looked a bit hit and miss on this map at this event.
Certainly. The NIP, the reason they haven't played it too much is because a lot of opponents banned this map against NIP. They have a 2-2 record this season, beating both Liquid and 6K, but then they lost to 6K once, and they lost to Virtus Pro back in stage number 1 as well. So definitely a mixed map. This is a map that I thought we would get for our final map because it is so even. Not a shock there for the decider.
Okay, predictions time. This one's tough. I believe both of these teams kind of get in their own heads a little bit, so I really don't know. I don't know. What are y'all picking? Lock it in. Lock it in.
I think this is completely on SSG. Which SSG turns up today? Is it the gung-ho SSG with loads of confidence? Because that's what they want to play. They want to be a nuisance. They want to try these exotic strats. If they do it with confidence and turn up, I would say SSG. But if they don't, I think it's absolutely Jova for them.
Listen, NIP have been a good team in the past, but Jackie, there's no way we're only going to get one North American team on the main stage in Atlanta. I'm ready for the crank. I'm ready for SSG. I think they take the series.
All right, okay. I'm going to say I'll pick NIP just for the jeopardy of it. But it does rely on SSG.
Do you really believe that in your heart, though?
Yeah, I do, because SSG have looked pretty poor this event. Generally.
They have.
Really,
even they scraped past Scars. SSG should not be scraping past Scars. They should be competitive with the teams they weren't competitive against. So if they turn up, they can make it a good game. If they've been playing how they're playing, no.
Yeah, this will truly be a great test for both of these teams. But our teams are ready. They are in position. Someone's going home. Someone's staying. Who is it going to be? Des and Ace, take it away.
Thanks very much, Jackie. You are absolutely correct. There is one team going home after this series. Tim, we love a good elimination game. And it could be another NA team if things carry on.
Could be a bad day for NA. A very, very tough matchup in that last game. I've got to say, I'll hand it to both teams. One of the most entertaining games I've yet seen in Atlanta, and we've had some absolute bangers. So that is saying something. Real performance from both sides. I'm hoping that we get more of the same. NIP, SSG, come on, you got to deliver.
The thing is, you've said it a lot, and I agree with you on this occasion. It's very rare. But NIP have really warmed into this tournament. They're looking better and better with every game that goes by. SSG, by contrast, are still kind of just mosh pitting in the middle of all the other teams. Like, yeah, we can do this. We'll punch and kick everyone. We'll do our very best. And so far, it hasn't really resulted in too many solid results for them. That's why we are down here in this 1 and 2 bracket. I know many have kind of developed the opinion that they're going to see SSG going home, that it's unlikely they make the main stage. Personally, I'm feeling this is where the journey ends. But I think Border is a really good place to kick things off, just for the sheer scrap of it, to be honest with you as well. We know that it's a very frag-heavy map, the closest thing we've really had to like Coastline back when it was a thing. Just so many soft walls throughout the map that give you long angles all the way through, and there always seems to be a contest going on somewhere at some time. Tim, we are straight into the operator ban, so it's SSG kicking things off.
See what comes along. It's going to be the Monty ban to begin with.
Take that away from Psycho.
It's been a real target from Psycho for the last... I think everything that I've said of NIP, they've had the Monty taken away. NIP's choice will come through. Going to be the Ying. Very, very common ban so far in Atlanta. Very fair indeed. Something SSG utilised. But also the fact that SSG have actually got one of the worst attacker win rates, I believe, so far in Atlanta. Down in the 30%. So, taking away any tools that can help them execute a plan is just going to be a positive. So smart move from NIP.
There's only a smart ban here as well, I think. Very good at locking down different areas of the map. We see setups inside a CC, for example. We see it inside a break room. That option is just taken away. And Fenrir, I'm not going to lie, has probably been one of the most frustrating operators for most entries to deal with. You walk into a room, you get nearsighted, you're shooting blindly in the dark, quite literally, and before you know it, someone has taken your head clean off. So extremely frustrating. But as always, it does mean things like Solus, like the KB, will creep on through in this game. So expect to see them in the vast majority of these rounds, but we are going to start things off inside of Armory and Archives. One of the go-to bread and butter sites of Siege, it feels like, Tim.
Yeah, let's get this underway then. It's going to be NIP versus SSG, and the stakes are loser goes home. Simple as that. The winner will have another best of 3 tomorrow against another opponent who will be 2-2. That is the point that we are at on the final day of Swiss, which will be tomorrow. So we're going to kick things off up on the top floor. It's going to be Armory. We know what to expect. We know what to expect. There's going to be a battle over CCTV. There'll probably be a bit of a battle over Office. and we will see whether the attackers can break their way in. For SSG's part, they want to try and keep NIP out of the map for as long as possible, really. That's one of the keys to defending border, is to prevent people getting established inside. So SSG really need to fight them at the boundaries.
I really like how aggressively the setup from SSG is positioned here towards the east to south side of the map. Like, whether you've got the castle barricades going down inside of 90 hallway, whether it's down inside a break itself, you can just see this line that is drawn by these kind of diagonally up and through to enable the defenders to very comfortably work their way back while still challenging on towards this waiting area balcony. Whilst inside of office itself, they've opened up all the walls on site, looking in towards office and put a shield down so they can challenge the defenders, so the attackers, as soon as they're stepping inside of office and not looking to give them too much room. So for NIP, they've got quite an aggressive defense to face off against here. Really keen to see how they do. Again, knowing it's their map pick, they should be the ones coming in with great ideas about how to attack border.
Cons is going to be approaching that office side, so not too much pressure over to CCTV and break at the minute. J9O's still comfortably watching the mirror window in the 90 corridor. It looks like Wizard and Muzi might be stacking up to go in that sort of direction, but for the time being, NIP are still looking to get themselves established, really. Muzi has managed to get in underneath. He's going to no doubt work up these stairs to join with Wizard at the top of there. A little bit of work underneath here, but Fultz is going to get caught out. Tries the run out of the main door, probably has the info from the Solis to say that the man was there and using the drone, but just couldn't get out there quick enough and will be cut down.
I will give it to them as well. I think with both the Ace and the Ash on side, they'll be very, very good at getting rid of these castle barricades if they want them open. There's a very fair chance that actually NIP look at this and go, well, you can't challenge us down East Corridor. Why don't we just leave it closed up and make it much easier for us to push safely up towards office? The danger being that the wall that looks in towards waiting area inside of break itself can see them as they're making that push forward. So there are considerations to make, but for now at least we haven't really seen them look to get any open. That could be the first one, as Muzi has just fired off his first breaching round of the round.
Still 5 versus 4 then, as NIP will continue the push. Forest is going to drop down. Here's a phone ringing somewhere, but not sure where. I think it was actually outside of the building that the sound was probably travelling in, so he's not going to get any joy down there. And it leaves them maybe a little bit more light-handed on site as Wizard manages to pick up Ashen in a trade after he got cons. Forest is playing this from down inside a bathroom. He's waiting for any push into office, and he's just going to try to use that hatch angle that NIP themselves were trying to utilise earlier, so they really shouldn't be falling foul of it.
I want to say the shield got taken away, and that's why Ashen had to move and play around the doors, and he was suddenly very vulnerable once that shield inside of sight was removed, and that is where NIP has spotted the gap. It's where Wizard stepped up and found that kill. Now Forest at least gets one back, finally rewarded out on the roam, but Wizard's inside of sight here. He's getting the diffuser down, Tim, and we're going to have to see action coming out. C4 over the top goes off, doesn't quite find his man, and Wizard's going to complete it. Steps up and finds one. In fact, no, it's Pino over his shoulder to get one more, and Forest still out on the roam, has got it all to do, plenty of tracks to work through, and it's a pretty comfortable first round by NIP.
What a combo from Muzi and Pino at the end there. They really had that cover locked down. There was absolutely no getting near that diffuser for SSG, so well played NIP. Solid first round of attack. Did very well at getting inside of the map, built themselves up from that east stairs area. Muzi just creating that platform for them to push forward. Forest, unfortunate really, dropped underneath, got himself a kill from down there, and really did try to sort of disrupt that NIP attack, but unfortunately things fell apart inside of sight, and Wizard was able to get in there and get that diffuser down.
Again, I think for me, I love the setup coming out of SSG. Quick technical timeout coming in, but it gives us time to have a little chat. Again, I thought SSG setup was really cool. It was quite aggressive. It was willing to challenge NIP everywhere that they stood. But NIP just kind of very slowly, piece by piece, for example, getting the office window opened up, let them for free with the Ash get rid of that shield that was inside of sight, and then suddenly all these head height level holes that you've opened up around the site itself, inside of archives, become your worst enemy as a defender, and Ashen simply had nowhere to play. So through one very simple move, getting rid of the shield, everything on the east side of the map becomes very bare for them, and maybe SSG need to double down on that a little bit more, whether it's bringing more things to play behind, maybe a mirror window inside a fountain that they can use better, different things like that to really reinforce it. I think might make it a more successful hold. Here, we go into Bathroom and Tellers, though, which will again mean we have a defense on the top floor. Normally, if you can't defend the sites themselves very well, in the case of Bathroom Tellers, it's facing an external window, so it's already quite a risk. What lots of teams then tend to do is go above and use vertical angles to deny things, like the window hopping. So you'll likely see NIP here having to go similar to last time, clear out this top floor, get the vertical control, and then make a plan underneath the safe cover of the rest of their team. But Bathroom can be a real threat here, even when you get vertical control, so they've probably got to secure quite a lot of the downstairs and the site area itself, as well as the upstairs, before looking to get that diffuser on the ground.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of work to do attacking onto this site at the minute. I think there's a couple of SSG up on the top floor. J9 is the one that we see inside of office. He's got himself a nice little rotation to top east as well, and he's got the support of several others, Hot and Cold, Ashen and Forest, all up there with him for the time being. So they do need to be careful. They need to be aware that NIP don't overwhelm them down on the lower floor, and they have to fight their way back in. But holding that vertical for the time being, so long as they've got the hatch open, I can see that, and so long as they've got a few options for verticals to go in there. Now then, he's managed to crawl his way in. I don't think Forrest is aware of this, is he? He's going to switch to the shotgun for the tight angle, but I don't think Musi knows that he's going to come face to face. I was baited. It was the Gemini decoy.
I know. To be fair, it's only me that gets caught out by that. But managed to get himself inside and at least find out the information that, yes, there is someone holding pretty tight inside of that west side of the top floor. You enjoyed that?
Yeah, I love it.
It tickled you.
I love it when the Iana catches me out.
I always mention it, but like Medics is the kind of guy as well that will normally, as you go into the gadget, switch away from the operator. I'm like, what is this teleportation magic? When did that come to Siege? But it can be done pretty tastefully. It's his way of trolling us. Psycho's inside now as well, with the shock drone. Almost managed to get rid of the mirror, but dealt with by the two players inside a fountain. No doubt that call will come on through. And Pino's going to find Forrest already with a nade here as well. So Forrest a bit troublesome in the last round, playing below, for example. Their second attempt with a shock drone is done. They are not getting rid of this mirror, Tim. It is staying closed unless they can get control of fountain itself.
That's the second round in a row that Pino's picked up the entry, and that's great work for NIP. It just gives them that advantage, means that they play in at least sort of half of these rounds as 5 versus 4. And the drone just going to spot out J9 as well, so he's going to relocate towards Sandwich. He's always got the option to drop himself down the hatch as well. SSG are actually doing really well here. They've still got 2 players up on that top floor. I think Hot and Cold's up there with them as well. So not going to be easy yet. NIP still have a lot of control to gain. SSG are holding on well.
They are as well. Sandwich, they know as well, where a player sat here, so they're trying to force him out. Flashbang's coming on through. It's a 3-way pinch. He's dead to rights here. But what can he take with him? Absolutely nothing, because he's already done the disappearing act. Tim, he's disappeared through the floor. Top floor taken over here. Ashen finds one, but again, it means the pinch is coming in onto him. 3 players of NIP surround, and with those 2 stuck inside Fountain, they're down 2 more members. SSG stuck in a 4v2, and Wizard brings out the last phone call with 20 seconds to go. Perfect timing.
Yeah, it's all up to J9 really to hold on in this position. If he goes, they can get a plant down, because Fultz is out in workshop. Going to be very difficult for him to work his way back in, and that's exactly what Cons is looking to do now. Gets himself inside the shower, starts that diffuser going down. Fultz has got no choice but to move. He knows that one's coming across because of the red ping. Can't find his shots. Wizard wins it out. NIP, another good round, and that's 2-0.
It's kind of a shame as well for SSG. I mean, Fultz in particular I'm looking at here, and all the action was going on the top floor. Fultz was stuck on site itself. Now, obviously, a Solus's main job is to get rid of as many drones as possible. If you're relegating Fultz to playing site and doing nothing else in the round, there's very little you can do except dissuade a site rush itself, but that was never NIP's game plan from minute 1. And in fact, with just 60 seconds left on the clock, they still had 7 drones out on the field, Tim. So much information, very little taken away, and the drones that we did see come on through, the ones mainly that got shot out, were those shock drones trying to get rid of the mirror window. Looks very calm and composed by NIP so far. You kind of expect a good attacking performance coming into Border, but they are making it look incredibly easy so far.
Pino can really be a nightmare on the entry when he gets going, and that's something that SSG need to focus on here, because 2 rounds, 2 entry kills, and that's a sort of momentum that Pino will just carry, and he will keep picking them up, and it's just going to make SSG's life even more difficult than it already is, because NIP are starting to look like they're moving a little bit quicker, and if Pino continues giving them those sort of hot starts in the rounds, well, they're just likely to keep on following it up.
I mentioned this last time around, this is the same setup they had before, but they have changed a couple of things things here. Some of this wall reinforced off, for example, looking out towards the office window. They realised, actually, expecting the player sat inside of site, being able to cover all of office and office window and the east corridor all at once, maybe a little bit much. And you know what? I'm pretty inclined to agree. But outside of that, this is a very similar setup. No soft openings here inside of the waiting room wall or inside a break wall, but they have otherwise got the same castles set up this time round. So still looking to control large parts of the map quite aggressively. Just a touch more conservative here from the side of SSG, not wanting to get completely overwhelmed by NIP too early.
Ashen is the one that's playing inside of CCTV. He's going to be on the dock, so he's in a good sort of solo position. He can juice himself back up. He can give himself health if he needs to and try and keep himself in position. Muzi, however, it's going to be to pick up the opener onto J9. Beautiful vertical nade. So Ashen becomes even more important here, because if he gets taken out by that initial NIP challenge, Cons and Psycho are stacking up to try and deal with him. If they're able to do that, then it leaves a really bad position. 5 versus 3, CCTV in the hands of NIP, and it's looking bleak for SSG. So Ashen, really important that he plays this smart.
And I just love that the team play we've seen from NIP there, where you've got Con sat on balconies also looking inside. You've got Psycho on the drones, and then Pino coming in below with the nade and just picking up a freebie from below onto J9, who is none the wiser about what is coming towards him inside a break. And everyone else at SSG is dug in around office, around West Main, around East Corridor. No one's anywhere nearby to even try and retake that ground so they don't concede it all away. And that's exactly what has happened. Now, Cons doesn't really move from this spot for the entire round. He's been sat here just sniffing out what's going on, waiting to see anyone move around 90, hoping the defenders try and reallocate some resource, but it hasn't happened yet. The one thing similar as last round when we were down here, or up here, sorry, was Forest off on the roam. He's doing exactly the same thing again. This nade's not going to find anyone, but at the very least should force SSG back or make them more aware that someone is sniffing around.
Yeah, Forest is on the move at the minute. Don't worry about keeping your eye on him. I will do that for you. But he could well be a difference maker if he manages to hit them on the flank. At the minute, he's just sort of floating around on that bottom floor while NIP continue their push up towards top. And at the minute, they're getting on into sight. If they keep on like this, it's all up to Bolts to try and hold them back. There goes the Forest jump out, though, clearing that window off, and that could be a big one. Psycho, though, knows exactly where he is, shuts him down. It is now all up to Bolts, last alive and pressured from every which way. Does NIP have got the answer to everything right now? Forest, I'll give him his due. You know, he's trying. He's trying to be unpredictable. He's down in tellers. He hides himself away. He roams around. He manages to get that jump out. But NIP is straight on his case. Psycho reacts instantly, finds the kill. And meanwhile, the rest of the team aren't shaken by it. They're still continuing that push onto the top floor, because what that tells them is we're against 3. Forest is down in ventilation. We trust that Psycho's dealing with that, so we're 3v2 on site. And they push that advantage immediately. Really well played from NIP, and it's absolutely no surprise that it draws out that SSG timeout so quickly.
It feels to me like they're very good at massaging SSG around the map to where they want them to be, and then just crushing them from all directions. Again, really, really good controlling stuff. And yes, we've seen this throughout the entire tournament. It's basically a staple of Siege now. If a team loses 3 rounds in a row, they tend to have that tack timeout at the ready to make use of to try and fix things, because there is a very good chance you are going to repeat the same 3 sites. Now, not strictly the case here. We're going to Vents and Workshop in this next round, so SSG really willing to try something a bit different here and step away from the main 2 sites they've tried, which is Armory Archives and Backroom Tellers. Now, with only 4 kills inside 3 rounds too, Tim, I think it's fair to say that they need more than a strategy correction from the coach here. They've got to start winning some of these gunfights.
That's the big thing, in all honesty. And it's, I kind of try to avoid saying it sometimes, because it feels so easy to say, like, we're in a first-person shooter. Yeah, you've got to start winning some gunfights. That's what'll win the rounds for you. But that is the case for SSG. They've tried, like you say, a number of different strategies. If we look at Armory, they've tried sort of holding on from 90 corridor through a mirror window. They've tried having Ashen in CCTV locked in position. Neither have worked. NIP have been able to either clear out office or clear out CCTV or both, and then push onto site, and the pressure's just been too much then, because, as I said, if you remember at the beginning of the map, for Border, once the attackers are inside the map, they are a long way towards winning the round. So it's definitely been a difficult one for them. I know, just waiting for the little run out from East Stairs there. He wasn't outside to begin with. He was in that sort of half inside, outside corridor.
Limbo being outside.
That's why he wasn't getting flagged as being outside, if you were wondering why. Fultz has taken some damage early in the round, though. He's down to just above half. Ashen could find himself in a difficult position here as well. I like it, though. It's what I said. SSG, get up to the boundaries, stop NIP getting established inside. But as you touched on, Des, and as I said, really, it's the gunfights. You've got to then start winning those entry fights, particularly. They haven't won one yet.
For me, I was a bit nervous, though, because Ashen in the last round was doing the same out of CC. He was poking his head out in the dark, running out, trying to look down the west main corridor to try and see who he could find, and just simply wasn't being rewarded. NIP are giving them almost nothing to play with here. Everything's being considered. They've had Duck AB, for example, Wizard, sat inside of basically spawn, watching for a potential Forest run out from East Stairs. They've just got everything planned and thought out, so there is very little room for SSG to really strike here. Now, finally, Tim, they have got some good fortune. Muzi is down, taken offline. Iana and a gun is taken away. Muzi, who was sat at 5 and 2, is out for the round.
Yeah, that's a better start from SSG. As I said, I felt like the entry was really important this time because it wins you that gunfight, it gives you that advantage, but it also puts NIP on the back foot. There's nobody yet inside of the map. They are being forced to play from outside, which is going to help you massively on border. Ashen is still holding on to CCTV at the minute. The pressure is going to continue to mount, but we need to remember he's got Fultz underneath on the Cade with a Nitro in hand. He's going to be there to try and support Ashen. You can see his silhouette underneath. There you go as he comes in. Beautiful from Fultz. Much better from SSG.
Really good use of the verticals this time around as well. I know Forest has had a bit of success at playing downstairs on these upstairs sites when we've been up them. This time around it's a similar sort of thing, but they're actually defending on the downstairs. And now it's Forest even playing elsewhere, managing to have an impact. And NIP definitely being held at bay in this round. What a turnaround this has been. About to find themselves with a flawless round here in round 4, Tim. And well, pretty fair to say they've fixed the lack of kill woes that they now currently sit on, with both Forest and Ashen at least going even, and Fultz not too far away himself. What can Pino do? Nothing is the answer. Hot and Cold also getting on the board. Good round from SSG.
Much, much better. Tack time out, come in with a flawless round, and they answered the problems that they've been having so far. They've won the gunfights, they've prevented NIP getting in and getting control. That looked like a different team from SSG in round 4, so much, much better. It really feels like after that round it was game on, but we don't want to get carried away just yet. They need to now back it up. They need to come into round 5. They need at least another one here. I think, you know, going a 2-4 on defensive border, not necessarily the end of the world. You're going to expect to pick up rounds on the attack, but SSG definitely need at least one more, and I feel like getting them back-to-back would go a long way for them.
Alrighty, the question is now, can they roll it into 2 or 3 more? Getting that 3-3 half after how dominant the first 3 rounds were would feel like a bit of a smash and grab. Not that you'll complain too much if you're an NA fan still smarting from the Sonics results. But you never know. Hopefully we see those fortunes pick up a little bit more. Bathroom and Tell as we go into for round 5. Again, saw this one a little bit earlier on. There was the player hanging around inside a sandwich that quite literally was sandwiched by NIP. 3 or 4 different directions, all pushing into him at once, but very successfully managed to drop away, just didn't walk away with the round win itself. Similar story here, I'd imagine. 1 or 2 playing upstairs, maybe even 3 to begin with, and the rest just trying to hold the fort down on site itself.
Yeah, last time around, NIP just did a great job of that top floor clearance. They forced J9O back down the hatch, got a couple of kills onto Ashen, and I forget who the other one that was upstairs with him. I think it might have been Hot and Cold on the Bandit that was upstairs with him. So managed to get those 2 kills. J9O was then sort of found in no man's land in Bathroom, and it was just all too much for SSG to hold on to. So again, win a couple of gunfights, keep yourself active on that top floor. Don't let NIP have that hatch control, and SSG may well get some joy here. Again, battle with them, don't let them into the map. And you can see the drones for the time being are racing around. It looks like we could have a little bit of a horizontal push coming in from NIP here, maybe looking to go towards detention and push in from that side. We actually hear the Selma chargers deploying on the wall, so J9O needs to be careful. He's going to find himself in danger pretty soon.
Muzi sniffing around as well on the drones. They know that he's here. You can hear the KB call coming in. He's getting pushed from passport as well. And this is what I mean. NIP have been so good at isolating a player and sandwiching them in, but they need to complete the kill. At this point, it's like a stalemate in chess. He's not actually being pushed into. They're still trying to drone him out, and no one's in a great opportunity or in a great position to take this gunfight at this time. So the great thing that J9O is doing now is wasting a lot of time, and reinforcements have arrived. Ashen from above to deny the jail push.
Yeah, that's great from Ashen there, just backing his teammate straight up and helping J9O stay in position. And again, what it's doing is preventing NIP getting inside of the map. Pino has been able to do that, but we're now a minute and a half into this. Another vertical nade comes out. Ashen somehow managing to survive. I think it was just the soles of his boots that saved him there. It was so close to going down. Beautiful from J9O, and NIP have failed to deal with the Valkyrie in customs, dealing a big blow to the attack, taking 2 down.
It's crazy because they saw him on drones earlier. They had the DKB call coming through as drones are whizzing past him. He even shot a drone that literally cycled past his feet. Yet they've completely ignored the J9O was in there. Definitely a bit of a miscommunication there on the side of NIP, and it has cost them 2 deaths that really could have been avoided.
SSG are in a good spot to take this. They've still got vertical control, as I asked for. Keep hold of that top floor for longer. Don't lose bodies up there. And look at NIP now, Des. They're starting to stall a little bit. Wizard, they're just sort of buzzing around the bottom of main stairs. You've got Psycho and Muzi separated as well. Muzi does manage to pick up Ashen. He was low health, and it's not going to be the biggest loss. Boris, however, really needs to be winning that fight. Muzi is going to pick himself up a second. Can they turn this around, NIP? They've got 15 seconds.
Concuss was definitely a big part of that fight now. False, who didn't really have the best start to this game, is warmed into this one. Got himself one to Wizard, almost a second as Muzi put down to a slither of HP. They've got to push it now. One goes down. They've got to find the last right sort of idea, but he's hightailing it. He's got no time at all. SSG win by the clock, and that's 2 of the bouts.
It was much closer than it maybe should have been at the end there, but NIP did a really great job of holding them off there. They just left NIP sort of pushing from multiple directions at the end. It didn't really feel cohesive. It took a double kill from Muzi to really sort of get anything from that for NIP, but SSG just did a much better job of staying in control above. They dealt with the horizontal push. They recognised that J9O somehow, you've got to call that as a mistake from NIP. The fact that he completely stayed off the radar in customs and picked up a double was really bad news for them. So SSG certainly looking better. They've settled into this one, got themselves 2 rounds in a row, and they come into round 6, their final defensive round at 3-2 down, but there's a real chance that they steal away a drawn half here.
Yeah, and a change of tack entirely. Again, they played a shield normally around Archives. They've looked to extend it towards Office. They've played the Castle to lock down a lot of this top floor. This round, none of those things can be seen. There's no Warden, there's no Frost, there's no Mirror. Oh, sorry, there is a Mirror. So a little bit part of it being brought along, but there's no Castle, sorry, is what I meant to say there. So a bit of a change in what their setup is going to be in their strategy. It looks a little bit more mobile with the Wamai, with the Ella on side, with the Solus there. And I actually think since we've seen Ashen step across the plane, this Solus in place of Fultz, who was playing it on the Vents Workshop site, we are seeing Solus being used in a much more aggressive facility, and Ashen, so far at least, is seeing good success in taking out drones. You've seen it in this round here, 3 are already down, but also in a couple of crucial kills in the early rounds.
So this time definitely leaning into more of what they did last time around when defending Armory, and just looking to keep them out of the map to begin with. And Ashen was last time on the dock inside of CCTV, so that is a little bit of a switch up. Playing on the Solus underneath this time, it's Hot and Cold that's going to be tasked with keeping hold of CCTV. Playing in there on the mute at the minute. Needs to be careful of the vertical nades. Ashen really needs to be keeping them off him, because that's something that NIP have done a couple of times, is try to work in and find those vertical nades. They've had mixed success with them, but Ashen is at the minute. You can see the silhouette ahead of us. He's going to be challenging onto Passport potentially pretty soon, so these players just really need to keep him safe.
He's feeling it.
Beautiful.
Not quite with his pants down, but with a nade in his hand, and Pino taken down for free. This early disruptive gameplay coming out of SSG has not 100% won them the half yet, but it has really pulled them back into it. Muzi steps in, does find the trade into Ashen, who was more than ready for it. As Forest hits the deck over on East Main as well. Dealt with. Cons finds one into a second onto the down Forest. Much better from NIP, just winning those ones, as we keep on saying, Tim. It's rewarding them big time. Cons are 3K in the round.
NIP have done really well there, so they've completely cut off the rotation back up to top floor at East Stairs, and they've got some joy from it. Cons able to net a double as he came in there. J9O all alone alone on site. 1 versus 4, shut down by Muzi, and that's going to be the end of the round. And NIP, they managed to change the fortunes of the last couple of rounds and get themselves a 4-2 half, which I'm sure they'll feel like they deserve. But Pino there, getting taken out underneath, it was unfortunate for them because that was the protection that Hot and Cold needed. That was the nades gone. They got him locked down, and then they just kind of rushed back upstairs and ran into Cons headlong. It was unfortunate for SSG.
Well, Fresh is on the line. Fresh, a bit of a back and forth half, a game of 2 halves, dare I say.
Yeah, exactly, Derry. I want to talk about SSG's defense basically in totality because they started off with kind of trying to hold on to less of the map but with more utility, and then the call-out timeout basically focused them on holding all of the map with less utility, trying to use their environment and the map to their advantage. We saw J9 with that wonderful trigger control. We saw Ashen basically trying to play up in break room, you know, very aggressive onto the outside of the maps because Border's all about the defense having gunfights with the attack whilst outside of the map. If you let the attack get set up, then it's pretty much over for you. And that's what SSG did wrong in their first 3 rounds. They've got it back to a 4-2, so it's not the end of the world, but definitely a strategic blunder in the first 3 rounds.
Okay, thank you very much, Fresh. Appreciate that one. We'll see if they can keep up some of the momentum we saw in the second quarter. Tim going, I keep wanting to say Fresh whenever I'm with you now. I don't know what's going on. He's in my head rent-free.
I was going to say, you call me Fresh anytime. If I've got the big brain analyst Fresh, I can be mistaken for Fresh, that's fine.
Stop being a suck-up, Tim. I'm sure he knows we love you anyway, don't worry about it. Here we go, SSG on the attacking side. Now, you did reference a stat earlier on, was it 36% their attacking win rate?
I believe so.
If we follow the numbers, then, well, they're not going to be able to win this game. But it is also Border, one of the most attacking maps that we have in the game right now. So, don't count your chickens just yet. SSG could still fight their way back in.
Ashen is looking poised and ready to try and push on into break room. He's got Full stacked up behind him with the support as well. Muzi just on that balcony for the time being, knows that there was a little bit of attention towards Tellers. I think he still thinks that's going on, but it is not. Forest has scarpered and he's gone elsewhere. He's going to move himself around Passport instead. Muzi doing exactly what we asked of SSG really, and what Fresh just described there, and that's getting up to that boundary, having those gunfights before SSG can get them in and establish. The nade goes into the break room door. It's not going to find Muzi, but the diffuser is going down at this point.
Nearly
is going to be stopped though, as they know that there's going to be utility getting thrown in their direction.
I mean, they've J9 behind as well to support here as well, so it's not like that Hot and Cold is entirely by himself, but now he's in a spot to start taking some gunfights, and this is going to start looking a little bit ropey for the side of NIP. They've been baited in by this Ossa, and the rest of SSG are just happy to pick up kills all around the map, it feels like. Wizard left all by himself, swung on by Fultz. Great first round by SSG.
Yeah, much better there. Just showing that they can be in control once they get onto the attack. It's what we expect on Border. Just get yourself into the site, play the objective, and you can often have a lot of joy. As Fresh said, get your attack set up, get into position to execute, and generally the attackers come away with the round win. It was a nice idea. You know, make a bit of noise elsewhere. They made plenty of noise with Muzi on CCTV. They had Forest sort of floating around, Passport, East Stairs, Tellers. Just make a bit of noise over there. Meanwhile, the actual crux of the attack is that Ossa that's sneaking up to Archives and is just going to walk in and put the diffuser down. And as soon as NIP noticed that, chaos sort of reigned then, because they had to turn their attention towards that, and all that noise that had been happening elsewhere was SSG basically in a position to then take advantage when NIP took their eye off the ball.
What I love was it was only 1 or 2 players on the south side of the map creating, like, it felt like there was a much bigger attack coming in, even though there wasn't. I think because there was hard breach on that side of the map that NIP sort of bought into, okay, and they're going quite hard down here. We need to be aware of this. And then before you know it, there's a single player stood in Archives window. There's J9 stood in behind the Ossa as they're coming in for a potential plant as well. It was a good bait plant with the first Ossa shield that came out to draw out the C4 and line up a free kill for J9. Just a real good bait and switch almost being shown by the American side. So they're only 1 round away now, Tim, from being drawn even with NIP, despite what was, quite frankly, a very disastrous start to this game.
Forest just going to open up that break room door from range, attacking this time onto bathroom and tellers. So again, we're going to see SSG trying to get themselves in above to begin with. They've got Cons at the minute, who's playing quite aggressively just outside of office door. He's in the corridor right up to, again, that window, just looking for any opportunity for anybody peeking around, but Fultz is going to see him. He's thinking about going and taking a little shot, I think, but no, just takes out the default cam instead from the window, dips himself away and knows that that is not a fight to be taken. Nitro in hand for Cons here. If he launches this, it could well... Nah, miles away, no problem at all. They've dipped themselves away from danger there, and SSG continue to live with a full 5.
Look how passively they're playing as well. I mean, SSG, everyone's always regarded as, at least lately in this roster iteration, the hyper-aggressive NA team. They always want to get into a brawl with you, but they're playing things so carefully and showing the right amount of respect to NIP, I think. Not really getting themselves inside the building until, what, now 1 minute 50 or so in the game? So it's been very slow, very cautious, very well thought out, very well drone, most notably, to make sure they aren't stepping into anything stupid, and they're slowly taking away map control for NIP, whilst also drawing out things like that C4.
They've not dealt with the Valkyrie camera, though. That could be dangerous. Cons is just pinging them out, but there's nobody in position underneath to get that vertical nitro. I believe Cons is creeping across at the minute. I can't just tell which level he's on. He's going to be on the top level, so he's going in for the gunfight. Manages to find one using that ping from his own black eye camera. And SSG aren't really reacting to this. There's Psycho's joined him as well. There's surely going to be a second. They've already lost one in there. You can't allow him to get another. Continues with the fight, and Psycho comes around on the assist. Beautiful team play from NIP.
And Psycho was just there to cover the balcony player that we saw to the left of the Valkyrie for just a couple of seconds. Indeed, it's Forest. And the dangerous thing is, Tim, he's got the diffuser. You can't be losing him in the firefight, so Forest is going to have to dip and instead head towards West Main. And nice little super short. He pumped in towards the back there as well to get one more down. But elsewhere, it's immediately traded out on to Forest. And as said, he had the diffuser. That's now cold outside. So SSG are going to have to go and recover it here. It's not looking good for this round.
No, not at all. They've kind of got to start thinking about potentially playing for the kills here. They don't have top floor control. J9 no does manage to find Cons. They don't have top floor control, so it's going to be difficult to potentially get a diffuser down because Psycho's just going to sit up there. He's waiting at east stairs. Great position because he can move downstairs if needed quickly.
They've got to get the kills.
They know that it's unlikely that they're going to get an opportunity to put this down, so as you say, they've just got to search for the kills. So if Pino's smart here, which we know he's going to be on the mirror, he's just going to keep himself out of danger.
Completely out of time as well. They've got to try and charge their way in here, but it's a case of waiting for the side of NIP. They won't even have to finish this one off. All they've got to do is let them step forwards, and step forwards they do. Easy closeout. NIP up to 5-3.
Yeah, really well played from Psycho and Muzi, I think it was, in that last situation. It might have been Pino on the mirror. Just the two of NIP there, just really smart. I don't know that they necessarily recognised that the diffuser wasn't down, but while Psycho wasn't being challenged on the top floor, he knows, I'm just going to hang around these stairs. I can be back down inside in 3 or 4 seconds without too much danger, or I can play onto office hatch if I need to, if we do get a call that a plant is going down or anything. So just really well played from Psycho, really smart, keeps himself in the right position. But SSG, they just got themselves caught out by losing that diffuser. Like you said, they didn't have time. Even at 40 seconds, it's difficult for them to go all the way over there, get it collected, fight their way back, and then still have time to do something. So tough break for SSG on that one.
It was, yeah. It's, again, with this dangerous round that we step into now being round 9, we speak about this a lot. At 5-3, you know, one more round for NIP puts you up to 6-3, and that feels like an impossible comeback for SSG. They win the round, they're one round within striking distance of NIP, and suddenly the game starts to feel much closer again. So a big round coming up here. I'm looking towards that Capital being brought along by Ashen. Spoke about this earlier during our TriCast with Titan. I absolutely love seeing Capital being brought along by teams. Think it brings so much to a team. You know, Gon6 in back pocket, the smokes, the fire, the hard breach gadgets. He is quite literally a one-man army, especially when these days we're seeing a lot of Wamai, for example. Like, that's maybe he's arguably his strongest counter, but again, so much utility that you could almost solo burn through those magnets if you so wish. So really keen to see how to make use of it in this round and what it transpires or translates into towards the round end. On the other side, a lot of denial coming through behind the Bandit of Pino. 3 C4s, by the way. Yeah,
going to be Armory once again. As you said, 3 C4s, but nobody playing underneath at the minute. So again, not really playing. They've got the Valkyrie of Muzi, so potential for a cam in CCTV. We saw, you know, how effective Fultz was down in customs to stop things like this. You don't want the vertical nades coming out and challenging Psycho. So maybe would have been a good idea to have somebody down there, but they've given up the bottom floor. NIP still fairly secure, but Psycho has been forced back. So CCTV within a minute could be taken taken by SSG at this point. They could well get in there and get that ground taken.
The Capital feels like a replacement to the Ying that we've seen SSG use before. You dump all the utility inside a sandwich on B site and then try and plant inside of A. They're obviously not able to do that without the Ying here because it was banned away by NIP, but at the very least trying to force some movement or draw some attention over from the other side. That's another one coming out from Ashen, this time the Fireball. Psycho has hit the deck and there's an A coming over the top. Wizard! Get out of dodge, just about avoids away. Wants to go for the firefight here, but they're sitting first. Still Psycho down behind, who could be resurrected here. Indeed he will be. It's going to be a 4 versus 3.
The Twitch draw, and you just saw a double zap coming. Trying Wizard, just looks away at the wrong moment. Could have stopped the repel potentially. Does take the Capitan down, but too late. Hot and Cold is there for the trade, and SSG, they're getting pumped up as they get that round and keep it within 1. 5-4 now.
The way you say they, it's largely Ashen.
It's mostly Action, to be fair.
It's just losing his marbles, and he absolutely loves it. So keen, and we had that interview from him yesterday, and he was speaking. I think Jackie said to me, what is it you do outside of Siege? What else do you do? And he was like, I don't know. He's like, just Siege.
Just Siege?
I mean, funnily enough, he's still in school as well. He was saying that he's been doing homework whilst he's been out here in between their games during his downtime. And it took a prompt from his teammates for him to say, oh yeah, I do the gym as well. And to be fair, one thing let's all mention about the kind of context of us being here at this place where we're doing everything from, or at least nearby. I think every single day we see SSG going down, and everyone's in like a black vest top, SSG logo on, all going to the gym together at the same time, all with the same haircut. They're really locked into this kind of like strong team bonds, or this strong teamship that obviously it's not really leading to the results they desire so far, but at the very least it's really cool to see a team being so bought in and bonded to each other at the same time.
It is indeed. It is.
Should we get matching vest tops, Tim?
And go to the gym together?
Shall we?
10 seconds left.
Could you imagine?
I mean, it'd be a sight. I don't think we... I'll be honest, I don't think we'd look as good as SSG. I think they might look considerably better than we do.
Yeah, just a bit, mate, just a bit.
Could be good for the content, though.
Do your best SSG cosplay is what it starts to feel like at that point. Here we go, though. A little bit of defense split across these two floors. It is defense and workshop hold. Now, back when SSG were defending this site, we mentioned that we had, 4 players playing upstairs, and Poor Faults all by himself downstairs on the Solits was left alone to hold off any would-be rushes. Now, for NIP, it's definitely more of a split, as you've seen. There are still the majority of their players hanging on the upstairs, but they've also got an extension out towards Bathroom and Tellers and out in towards Office. So not just over the site itself, but really across the entirety of the top floor here, really wanting to make SSG sweat for any kind of vertical control.
Going to be...
Poor Cons alone. Him and Faults, brothers in solace.
That's exactly it. The E1D scan comes in. Forest is going to be able to move into Passport on the back of that. He's supported by Hot and Cold as well. They're going to try and get themselves into Customs. Again, just looking for these vertical nades from underneath. The ping is there. It's nice and clear. Will do a bit of damage to Psycho, but won't take him down completely. So CCTV will continue to be held for NIP for the time being.
Although he might get pinched here if he's not careful. This is the danger of splitting yourself up so much, as you do leave yourself at least a little bit isolated. Now, Wizard at least is nearby to give a bit of support in case a push comes through, and I think Ashen may well have seen him on the drone that was just inside a breakthrough, so they know that he's around and looking to help out. There we go, so now he's got to get away from this, but it does present that little bit of fear that if you try and push Psycho, you will be getting shot in the back by Wizard.
Yeah, Wizard's movement is good, and he manages to wriggle himself away, gets back into Office, so he does have now the freedom to drop down the hatch if he wishes to try and get back to site. Forest is trying to pressure, and there, as the drop comes in, exactly as I predicted, Hot and Cold's ready and waiting though. Joe's open, finds the kill, but Pino manages to pick up a trade. 4 versus 4 now as Forest does finish off Cons.
It's nice that they've moved so fast, and really NIP are probably guessing, is this a bait, is it not? Like someone's challenging our site player? Now that you've lost sight entirely, you can't drop the hatches. So those that are still on the upstairs really are sitting ducks unless they can get a longer way back towards site. But J9O is not going to let Moose eat away. Psycho now has to start making a move from inside of CC, but J9O's got the long angle. SSG, they pulled us basically square, Tim. Suddenly, for NIP, that comfortable 3-0 lead is like a memory of the past.
That's it, 5-5 now, and guaranteed all 12 regulation rounds to kick us off on Border, and in this best of 3 between NIP and SSG, both fighting extremely hard, of course, because the loser will go home. They will be out of the tournament. That's what happens when we are in these best of 3s. NIP then going to call that tactical timeout, Des. They've had enough. 2 rounds in a row for SSG, 3 of the last 4, and NIP, they know that something needs to change. They're going to have to start winning rounds pretty decisively. They're going to need 2 without mistake if they want to do this without overtime, and it's been a little bit sparse for them in the last couple.
Yeah, the wind's been blowing against them for a while. Ever since that SSG timeout, after round 3, things have just built up against them further and further and further. And I did wonder at what point would they look to take this timeout? Would you really be waiting until you were down like 6 and 5? Would you be saying, okay, when it gets to like 5 and 3, 5 and 4, right, guys, we are starting to lose that lead that we built up now. We've got to sort this out. But probably also there's a balance here of leaving it long enough to really observe what the issues are here and what it is that's tripping NIP up time and time again, which to me, truthfully, is just the pressure that we're seeing from SSG, the momentum. Again, we speak about them being a fast team. You've seen them be very quick at getting in underneath, for example, and trying to catch people out with nades. They've been very quick at getting inside of archives and holding these angles and just waiting for NIP to rotate into, completely unbeknownst to NIP, that is, angles that guarantee free kills. So we've got to see a bit more discipline being shown by NIP here, a bit more willingness to play together and play for trades, because right now, most of their team is playing very separated, as we saw in that previous round.
Yeah, I think that's a really key point, Des, and if you compare it to SSG, I think it stands up even more. That player that we picked out, Fultz playing underneath in detention, Ashen above, he was on the Kaid, he had the holes open, Fultz was able to get the kill, support his teammate as they tried to push into him, and it was just much better, whereas, as you've said, NIP have been able to be singled out and just taken down with no real opportunity for anybody to keep them alive or anybody to trade the death, and that's definitely something NIP could do to improve upon, would be playing a little bit closer together and just having that understanding of how they can impact on and for each other. So bathroom and tellers it will be. We saw this back in round 8. It was the last site that NIP won, in fact, before SSG went on to win both armory and ventilation. So they're going to try again, looking to keep hold of that top floor. Muzi is going to be the one this time holding on to CCTV. There's been a lot of changes with that as well. Muzi's held on to it, Psycho's held on to it, and it keeps sort of switching back and forward.
Do push into the south balcony again. It's the starting point, the staging ground for both teams in their attack so far. So pretty much every single one has started. Both teams, I think, relatively passive for some degree, I think, when trying to figure out exactly what's going on, except for the last round, when we saw a much faster SSG come out, and the change in pace, I imagine, just catching them off guard a little bit. This time around, it's Cons being isolated, taken down, no response from the other side. And all that we're really seeing is the main difference in this round is a lot of NIP are gathered closer towards the site, and Muzi has given up CC far quicker than Psycho did in previous rounds.
Yeah, and I think Cons being taken out certainly hasn't helped that either. Hot and Cold's working his way in underneath, so there's a lateral push coming along as well, and it looks like Fultz is going to join that party. They're going into sight. There's the potential here for Boris to plant, and that's exactly what he's going to do. He's got himself inside of Tellers, and he's putting the diffuser down, and NIP have no idea, Des. They've no way of stopping this whatsoever, and this looks like it could be another round for SSG as Ashen manages to pick up Psycho, and NIP are on the back foot. They're on the fight back, and they've got to move through against an upside-down rappel against players from SSG that are just locked into position, holding lines of sight. Hot and Cold will be down, but still 2 versus 3.
So much to do here as well inside about, what, 10 seconds? They see the leg, but the Lion sees him first. It's Forrest to strike true, and down goes Pino. SSG completely unleashed across these last, what, 9 rounds? NIP looking absolutely toothless despite that 3-0 start. It's been one hell of a turnaround by the Americans. Up to 6 and 5 they go.
Yeah, let's go! That's what we doing, Brox. Let's go!
Nashin is loving life.
Good shit, boys. Let's go!
I love how very few. No one else is really reacting to him. He just seems to be in his own little world of just absolutely losing his marbles at every round win. I love it.
It's brilliant.
He's the hype man that everyone wants on their team.
Hype like nobody's watching.
Literally, yeah. Or like you're playing with nobody, apparently. And as I said, NIP, I think, have just kind of crumbled. Like, it's so bizarre since that change around that we saw after round 3 that things have just simply not got back on track. Even with that timeout after the previous round, we saw them play a little more defensively, pull back ever so slightly, but even here, you know, roaming off at the bottom of main stairs, like, no one else is playing around there. You've got a couple of site players, you've got a couple playing break room and inside of CC. they're just being caught rotating around the same as they have been for the last few rounds, and I thought we'd see them play a little bit tighter that last round. They started out that way, but then really spread back out again, and SSG are all too happy to take the freebies when they get presented.
Yeah, I mean, after 3 rounds, what did we say? SSG need to be winning more gunfights, and look at what they've done. They've really stepped back up and started winning some of those 50-50 fights, a lot of those 50-50 fights, especially when they've been sort of 2-on-1, 1-on-1. They've been able to come away almost every time with the kill, and NIP are suffering right now. You just feel like SSG have probably broken the mental, really, of NIP. We're going to have the barbed wire out on the balcony, not an uncommon one. Just tells you if anybody's out there moving towards that door, gives a little opportunity for a bit of a challenge.
You see it on Skyscraper as well outside Exhibition Office, right? You place it down and you think, well, that's not really going to stop anything. It does 2 things. It either forces nades out of the enemy team to burn it away, whether it's Ash rounds, whether it's Sophia impacts, take your pick, or it forces someone to have to walk up and beat on it. And as soon as you as a defender inside a CC hear that sound, then guess what you're going to do? You're probably going to swing because you know they have got absolutely nowhere to go. So plenty of chances to still make this work. Good impact over the top, and I don't think they necessarily planned for this one, Tim, because that's the only hard breach they've got. They get another one. Okay, this is quite smart. We'll get the wall off towards the left as well. So good stuff. I'm afraid the trick simply isn't going to work there. So they've abandoned on Jail. That means Jail is going to stay closed for this entire round, though, Tim. That's normally a big pressure point for attackers that SSG simply aren't going to get to use.
No, exactly, but Pulse, he manages to pick up Muzi, and it's another great start. That's something else I commented on in the early rounds, was NIP winning out all the entries, Pino particularly. But since then, SSG have redoubled their efforts at the beginning of the rounds, and they've been coming away with a vast majority. They've been doing very, very well to open things up with a kill. And again, they're using that man advantage well, because that's when they're then able to send 2 after a player. They're able to isolate NIP and make sure that they've got those 2v1s on people, and NIP really suffering for it at the minute, and there could be another one on the cards. A little bit of trigger discipline from Ashen, but I think he was seen. He knows the man's there, and it's an easy win against Cons.
What is going on?
Well, Ashen going absolutely wild on the top floor.
I can't count the number of times that SSG have caught an NIP player sprinting or rotating back towards their team, completely unawares as to what is going on. Yet again, they've been stabbed in the back as they've tried to move through the map, and SSG have just completely unraveled NIP's game. Wizard has got to bring down 5, and something tells me, Tim, that's just not going to happen.
No, it's going to take some real magic to do that, and whilst Wizard might be capable, it's probably unlikely. He gets 1, can't find 2. Wow. SSG close it out, and they take map 1, and look at what it means.
Ashen loves it.
I think he enjoyed that 3K on the top floor.
I think they all absolutely love it, Tim. Either way, NIP, you can see the shaking heads. They've got some work to do. We'll go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll see if they can get back on top or if SSG are taking this 2-0.
Hi, I'm Joshua Mills, and this is Siege Intels. Grenades. You love them, I love them, but why are they so heavily restricted on operators' loadouts? Their power, as well as the ability to cook them, have progressively made this secondary gadget the reason to choose an operator. In an effort to curb this powerhouse of utility and destruction, we have slowly over time removed grenades from our operator loadouts. We don't like that. If there's a tool in the game, you should have access to it. We are currently reworking their system to bring them in line with the other secondary gadgets in the game. Now connect to the reveal panel to see what this change entails.
We are Scars, this is Siege Snacks. アメリカとかしてない？いや、そうそうそう。ありますか？甘い。デザート系がいて、スイーツ。お、うまそう。なんか絶対美味しい。パン系。パン系。甘そう。あ、これはうまいよ。これは大丈夫。これはうまい。いただきます。いただきます。いただきます。うまい。マジでうまい。これうまいわ。何？大丈夫？みんな酸っぱくない。大丈夫？これ。大丈夫？マジで。怖っ。飲みきりの家で ってんの？うまいよ。うまいよ。なんかレモン系の風味あるよね。チョンチ？風系のある。ある。食べたことあるこれ。オープン。おー、ピーナッツやん。
バターみたいな。
笠間さん。俺だけ。いただきます。いただきます。ピーナッツバターじゃね？ピーナッツ。うまい。ヤミー。
っぽくない。
なんか酸っぱい。しょっぱい。まあでも多分まあでも。
ピーナッツバタージェリーサンドですね。
イエスイエスイエスイエス。まあ全然5個中3個ぐらい。おお、うまそう。うまそう。まあチーズタルトじゃん。シナモンっぽいね。
あ、シナモンだ。
いきます。いただきます。いただきます。これどうやって食うの？くそ。あ、
ちょっと。いただきます。
うまい。シナモンオンリータルト。
俺好きだよこれ。
こんなに。
俺好きだよ。
いやシナモンだよ。チュロス多すぎる。
これがパンケンパイです。
パンケン？これキャラメルじゃねえよ。かぼちゃなの？かぼちゃじゃない。新しいねこれは。
俺好きだよこれ。
まあ俺も。いやいやし。
全然あったら食べる。
じゃあ食い。
俺こう。
半分。
シンプル。
ぜひアメリカに来たらパンプキンパイ食べてみてください。シリーズ3個見てくれてありがとうございました。またメジャーでお会いしましょう。バイバイ。バイバイ。
SSG wins 7-5 on map 1 border. An insane comeback, down 5-3, but they said no, not today. Okay, Ashen, in my 4 years of Siege, is one of the loudest players I have ever seen, gentlemen. I'm like, I can just hear him miles away, I feel like. We're not miles away, but it's just like how powerful that voice is.
And especially the fact that he's only just turned 18 as well. I mean, that's the thing. We've seen rookies come in. Spoit's probably the biggest example of a rookie that came in at 18. You know, a lot of expectation placed on him, and he's quiet as a mouse.
Yeah.
Not this kid behind me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, without a doubt, I believe Ashen's energy definitely contributed to that victory, but that critical timeout definitely played a part, Jesse. And you want to deep dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. The TAC timeout was so important for Spacestation. You know, we're taking a look at round number 3. This is right before the TAC timeout. What NIP were doing really well was they were getting drones in. This is a great drone that NIP find onto Ashen. It sets up a great kill that they are managing to get off of him right after this. And this is when we see the TAC timeout get called by Callout. He says, listen, boys, we're getting droned out. They're nading from us from below. We're really getting smoked in the early games. Let's change things up. What does Ashen do? He goes from Doc over to the Solus, hits a nasty shot as well, and starts playing with this ability. He shoots a drone there on the countertop, and now all of a sudden the intel game gets taken away from NIP. They play below. We see the TCSG come through, taking out cons, jumping into security. We see players run right past the crosshairs of Ashen, trying to get into break room, and maybe he doesn't get this kill, but he may as well have. They did so well to handle everything that NIP were doing really well in those first 3 rounds. They countered the play from down below. They countered the drones, and it was an excellent TAC timeout from Callout, which addressed every issue.
And that TAC timeout got them 2 rounds on the defense because they were careering towards a 0-6 half on the defense, which is not where you want to be, right? So if that got them 2 rounds, they won 7-5. You can directly attribute that timeout to them winning this game. And you could hear it in the communication between the SSG boys afterwards, after that timeout. I was listening to the communications live in the studio, and they were saying, we fight them. We get more aggressive. Any chance we get, we don't back off. We don't play the zone. We fight them. And that got them over the line.
I do want to talk about NIP a little bit. Definitely took a risk with the map pick, but their nade usage, you actually thought that they did that quite well, right, Jesse?
Yeah, I think, you know, I liked the map pick from NIP. You come in on Oregon, it's a map that you like, but not one that you've shown so far this event. They start off strong, they've got a clear game plan, a clear idea of how they want to play this map, but then I think the mental just kind of got away from them. The way the SSG plays, it gets into your head. You know, you start playing against SSG, and all the plans go out the window. That's the main problem you face when you're going against the Space Station crew, and NIP, they love their game plans, they love their strategies, but sometimes you just gotta hunker down and throw those plans out.
I actually thought they was a little bit too passive as well. They suffered from the same kind of issue that SSG suffered from on their defense. Not being aggressive, not allowing SSG to actually get into the map and set up, and their TAC timeout not as effective.
Yeah.
Okay, he's being tame. Behind the scenes, he was like, I need SSG to get funky, Jackie. So we shall see on map 2 if that's the case. What are we thinking about map 2, by the way?
Map 2 coming up, Oregon, obviously. The pick from Space Station, you're always in a good spot when you win your opponent's map pick. For SSG, they've got a 6-2 record this year in Tier 1 play. However, this stage, recent plays are split. A win over Dark Zero, 7-2. A loss against Wildcard, which ended the run in the NAL playoffs. I think Space Station are feeling very good going to this map.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing, is the fact you've said it. They've won their opponent's map pick. So that puts all the pressure onto NIP, because SSG aren't meant to win Border.
Yep.
You know, if you think of how best of three's meant to go. Team A wins their map pick, Team B wins their map pick, and then we have a decided map. Well, SSG have just booked that trend. They now get onto a map that they're very, very comfortable on.
Okay, so what are we thinking map 2? SSG doing 2, NIP battling back here?
Listen, I think NA's got the fire behind them. I think they're in the heads of NIP. I think Space Station game and take this one 2-0.
I'm going to stay with Nip.
Okay.
No other reason than just to disagree with Jesse, because I don't like him.
Just to disagree with Jesse.
I'll take that.
Of course. Oh my analyst test. What am I do with y'all? All right, well, will SSG do it in 2, or is NIP battling it back? Let's send it back to Dez and Ace.
Thank you, Jackie. Great question, to be honest. We were talking during the break as well, and it feels like the Spacemen might be on something here as well.
Yep.
We just didn't see NIP come back to life after that round 3 timeout.
No, and seeing them at the end of the map and like when they were walking away from the machines and stuff, they just seem beaten down. Now, this is a team with plenty of experience. They know how to bounce back. They'll be resilient. They're going to come back into this. Brazilian teams we know are always very capable on Oregon. We said it earlier about others as well. You know, they're scrimming regularly on this map against teams like Liquid, FaZe, some of the best in the world on Oregon. So NIP are going to know what's what here, but you just feel like like SSG have just carried so much momentum into this. Honestly, those last few rounds of border, like, they look scary. Like, you know, Fresh and Jesse have both broken it down there. You know, just how well they played after that tack timeout, how they recognised what was happening. They were able to hit the reset button. They were able to change, adapt, make, you know, those implement those changes to really get those rounds done. And they just looked really, really good. And I'm not sure that anything is going to slow them down, especially on a default map like Oregon. That's their choice. They're going to come in here confident.
I think NIP have got to take the Ying away here. You know, whenever I think of SSG in the downstairs on this side, on this map, sorry, I always think of the Ying style execute. So maybe we'll see it coming out here. Maybe the KB band away. Now, we mentioned this. In fact, someone points out the other day in chat, I was talking in chat and someone was like, yeah, why do you guys say Kaid wrong and the KB wrong? And I was like, what do you mean wrong? And I was like, well, Kaid actually said the way it's meant to be said is like, Kaed. And I'm like, well, one, I can't make those sounds very well in my mouth, so I'm not going to try and say that correct. Kaid will do. But DKB, I was like, well, how do you actually say DKB? And it is actually much simpler. It's just Dokkaebi. It means like Korean goblin. Yeah. So Dokkaebi is the one. I'm trying to make it stick, but DKB, I can't remember where I picked it up from, but it might just stick for that bit longer. But Dokkaebi is the one. Otherwise, Flores taken away is an interesting ban. So normally see those Flores drones sent rattling down towards 90, clearing away shields and ADSs, you name it. Fenrir, as we all know, incredibly powerful, and Azami, a very similar story. So some good bans coming on through. Flores, definitely the spiciest of the bunch. Starting things out down in the basement. Tim, it's NIP on the defense, SSG on the attack. And again, if SSG win this one, well, they've got themselves into a good spot. NIP, the only spot they'll be in is on the plane home tomorrow.
I think NIP, it does them a massive favour to start on defence of Oregon here. We would expect them to come away with a 4-2 half, realistically. They should be winning Laundry, they should be winning Dorms, and then we'll see what happens in the third choice side. But that would be the expectation, to be fair, normally. So anything less than that, a 3-3 split or better, really suits SSG down to the ground here when they're then going on to the defence of their own map pick. And given that it is their map pick, that's why we've got NIP on the defence, because they think that it's the stronger side, and they get to pick where they start. So Musa is going to be reinforcing that meeting hatch. We saw earlier with Loss, they were playing with the meeting hatch open. It is an option. You've then got to commit men to that mid floor, which is something NIP obviously don't want to do. They've got Pino out and about at the minute, just reinforcing off that shower's door. And after a little bit of running around, a little bit of movement, everybody but Cons is going to be back down into the basement floor for NIP, and scratch that, Cons is going to join them as well.
I like the lineup as well, coming alongside that Grim. We've seen it definitely growing in popularity as time's gone by. All the bees that he brings along, it's a whole beehive at this point, Tim. And Asher's the one charging in with that again, the amount of utility that it brings, the ability to force defenders back, to have the hard breach gadgets in back pocket as the secondaries. Here you're looking in towards him and Capital being on side, somewhat as that alternative towards the Ying with the smokes and the fire on side to make executing through hatches that little bit easier. Normally you'd see the Capital used in for the lobby hatch to make an execute inside of Laundry itself that little bit easier, or at the very least to smoke off inside of Laundry itself to then enable a push round towards the washing machines towards the right, in through the rotate, and just to really open things up for the rest of the team to make their moves in. So for SSG, I think the focus here really is on getting themselves ready for an execute. NIP, in my opinion, need to be getting up in their face a bit, but looking at their lineup on the defensive side, all of it just screams we want to play on site.
Yep, SSG are going to be opening up the Laundry hatch for the time being. They've put the track stingers at the top of Freezer stairs, which suggests they're not really going to play around that area too much through the rest of the round. So we may be going to see a little bit of rear stage, a bit of meeting hatch, and maybe a little bit of Laundry. I'm hoping that they don't sort of put it all down to a pillars and electrical push. I always like to see a second attacking option from teams when they're going down to basement. You just need pressure in a few directions. I think they've just managed to... Have they managed to trick the hard breach charge? I think they managed with one, but the Capitão will...
Oh, he got it again!
The second...
So the first one didn't get tricked. He put it down while the electrification was still there and lost it. The second one, though, really smartly tricked away. And they've still got one more to go. Oh, my God, they're losing the one. What is going on with this timing? It's an absolute mess, Tim!
It really is, and they've only got Well and Selma charged, so they can't open the hatch. This is not good for SSG. They're going to have to be going down stairways and just looking for fights. And NIP have got 5 alive still downstairs. SSG are having to scramble. Des, if they can win this round, it will show ultimate adaptability.
It will, and by the looks of it, there's a big focus on Big Tower. 3 of them gathered up here. It's going to be a bit of a push down. This could get real messy if they don't know about Muzi inside of the spot that we call Harry Potter under the stairs. Drone comes down, has to run away himself here, and with the bees on side, at least they should be able to make this push work. But I'm worried about deep sight. They've got it smoked out, but there's a warden on side, Tim, and just as I say it, Pino lines up the shots, finds one for himself, and scares the other 2 away. This is just a slow bleed out here for SSG, all because of that E-box hatch.
15 seconds left to go. Hot and Cold manages to get one. Can he find himself a second? He's got on to freeze the door. Here comes a bit of a push through bunker. 3 versus 2. NIP holding on nicely. They knew that they just needed to burn down time, and Muzi manages to pick up that final kill. Big mistake from SSG there, we have to call it, but I suppose on the plus side for the North American side, you look at that, and that's not something that's going to happen again. That's not something that's normal round to round, so it was really well done by NIP. The play with the electroclaws onto the hatch, they got 2 hard breach charges, a Selma charge. They just did absolutely everything to keep that meeting hatch closed. SSG, I'm sure they'll brush that one off pretty easily. They'll know that that's not going to be a reoccurrence.
You know the meme, like, you must have seen it online where there's one guy in a big hole, like, digging up, and there's like 8 people stood around it, and it's like the IT manager, the project manager, the this, the that, everything else, and then one person actually doing the work. It felt like all of them stood around that hatch trying to get it open, because it was like, they'd be like, okay, EMP, okay, now you go and do your thing. All right, cool. Oh, I got tricked. Oh, I'll put a new one down. Okay, then yeah, cool. Oh, but it got tricked again. I was like, EMP it. Yeah, go on, why not? And everything was just so out of time and out of order that it really struggled to have anyone really coordinated the actual opening of that hatch. It's like they just walked upon real life magic and weren't quite sure how to approach it. So I think I'm with you. You shouldn't see that kind of thing happen again. But I don't think I've seen an arse up like that around mating hatch in years.
No, I put that sort of round down to similar to like winning or losing with a rush or something like that.
You write it off.
It's something that happens. You write it's done. You write it off. It's just not gonna happen again in this. In this game.
I love how the course correction now is right. Bring Habana. You can't mess it up that many times, surely.
Oh dear, I'm surprised we're into Thatcher as well. Right, we're going upstairs to dorms. It's going to be round 2. Quick progress from SSG this time. They're a little bit slower getting into the map last time around, but Forrest, he's already in there, going to take control of Big Tower. Just having a look at his gadgetry on the book. Does have the hard breach charge, so he can open that attic wall himself. Doesn't need any support to apply pressure from that side. Ashen's going to rotate over to... No, he's not. I was going to say to Armory Corridor, but he's actually going to drop away and head back inside through rear stage.
Right. I mean, Hot and Cold's done all the work he needs to out towards the west side as well. Just opening up a bunch of holes. Again, it's that phantom pressure of a case someone's been here, are they still around, are they not? It will dissuade the defenders from playing at that part of the map. And if nothing else, at least, well, he can guarantee that it's clear and no one is playing there. However, there is one inside of security. I'm sure Ashen knows about it. You don't reinforce off all of these walls and then play no one inside of there. The question now turns for SSG is how do they remove that player? And the answer likely sits in all those frag grenades sat in the back pockets of both Ashen and Hot and Cold.
Forrest was just a little bit unsure when clearing off that mute jammer. You had to go around alternatively through kitchen just to check that meeting was clear, I think, and make sure he had a better angle. Wizard is going to hold on to the bottom of White Stairs through that angle. As it gets opened up above him, he's able to take advantage and get himself a nice kill. Starts things off onto Ashen. That's the thinker gone. Forrest will likely get one there. Surely no. Pino manages to find Hot and Cold, and Con somehow gets away. Wizard's still alive, and NIP are looking good in round 2.
Yeah, he's hit the deck, but is still recoverable here, and you do have the smoke of Cons not too far away. It's just that fear of being pushed here that might put them off, at least for now, getting him back up. Not holding on the bleed out, might be trying to move himself into a safer position. Cons, honestly, I cannot believe how lucky this man has been this round. He's been shot again, yet he's still standing, Tim, with a single smoke in back pocket.
Certainly seems to have 9 lives at the minute, and a couple of them have been burnt out, but you just get the feeling he's going to keep going and going and going. Fultz, he's just watching a long angle there. Can't really push in too aggressive. I mean, he could. He's just going to tank the damage there on the laser gate. Knows that there's one hard right. Does he find his man? Doesn't quite look far enough. Shots will go in, and finally Cons gets taken down. Forrest, meanwhile, manages to put Pino in the dirt elsewhere, leveling us up. No, it's actually advantage SSG. 3 versus 2 now, 3 versus 1, as they've managed to get a lot of control here. Des Psycho is pinned back on 1 HP, gets the long angle. Surely not. Jane, I know. How can you miss that? He's just got a kill onto Trophy Door. Surely you know where he is.
Ashen's voice is gone tomorrow, man.
100%.
No matter what happens in this game, his voice is gone tomorrow. It'll either be a very peaceful flight home with his fellow passengers, or You might find him a touch quieter in tomorrow's game, assuming they make it through the series. One thing that did get pointed out to me, actually, we spoke about this a little bit before the game. This is obviously, between the orgs at least, a rematch of what we saw back at SI 2020, our first SI that we worked together. One hell of a comeback in that game, actually. I believe it was on Clubhouse. There was a very clear moment around round 6, round 7, where the momentum just swung away from NIP over to SSG. And as we all know, the rest is history. Canadian and the boys went on to win the whole thing. Admittedly, the squad looks very different today from back then. I think Fultz being the only remaining member from that winning side. And NIP themselves have made a couple of changes along the way, but some storied history between the two orgs at the very least.
Certainly is, as you say, our first as well. Some history between us since then, Des. I can't believe that we're...
I actually remember in the very first round of that, we cast Na'Vi against SSG.
We did. Rampy
got an ace. He did. And your line was, Rampy, welcome to Canada.
He was on the book.
He was indeed.
If I remember right.
He was.
And the first kill was on to Kendrew.
Really showed Na'Vi what for. He's really trying to keep him gassed up, bless his soul. Quick rehost here, as you may have told. We've come out of the game for a second. We'll get a rehost done, and then we're back into game.
We will, but yeah, 3.5 years have whipped by since then for us. It's been
loan.
Yeah, they really have. It's been a journey, I'll say that. We've seen some fantastic places, some wonderful Siege along the way, great players, better players. It's been a pleasure.
The two series that always come to mind for me when I think about the history of casting for us, at least, was the Berlin Major Finals.
Obviously.
68 of 75 potential round play.
Unbelievable.
Honestly, if you want to see if our curse really exists, just go back and watch that series.
Unbelievable game. Absolutely brilliant.
Oh, it was insane. And then also Damwon Kira against FaZe, which is the one we always reference.
November 2021 in Sweden.
Yep. And it came down to a 1v1 between Rin and Souls won, and FaZe went on to win the whole thing.
I'd also pick out the NIP Liquid final from 2021, the SI final in Paris. That was it was 5 maps, but it was with a 1 map advantage.
That was sad for me because obviously Palu's father had
it was obviously.
And I think you saw Lucky because they'd also played a game earlier like that day. They were just out of steam by map 5, and I was like, this had the potential to be such an epic ending, but they were just out of steam. You could tell that like Palu was just mentally exhausted as well, bless his heart and soul.
Yeah.
And it was a tough for them. But it was also a very, very cool stage because
I was going to say it's one of my favourite venues.
It was during the COVID arena, like during the COVID time, like we had no audience, so we got to get some really cool.
Bit more flexibility with like the buildings that could be used and things.
Yeah,
obviously.
Paris Stock Exchange.
The old Paris Stock Exchange and it was all done up in gold and white lights, and it was
gorgeous,
absolutely beautiful venue. Yeah, it was fantastic. But
crazy when you think back to those times.
A little walk down memory lane for Des and I. Whilst we wait for this one to get back underway, I think we will be getting back in very, very shortly. SSG at the moment 1-1 with NIP. They did take the first map of Border after going 3-0 down to begin with. They were able to fight their way back into it after a very effective tactical timeout, I think you'd have to say, for SSG. It really did the business. When they came back in, they were able to turn it around and have played fantastically well since. As I said, here on Oregon, on the attack, if they can get a 3-3 half, I think SSG are going to be reasonably satisfied with that going on to the defence. This is their map pick, and I think they will be expecting a 4-2 half on the defence. So NIP losing up in dorms and heading to a third choice site may well play into SSG's hands.
May well do, and I think with it being the 1-1 at the end of the day, there's no real momentum being built for either side just yet. So you feel like this actually comes out as a pretty fair split, I think, after the rehost coming back in, and a pretty even scoreline. Alrighty, let's see how things go now. We're stepping in towards meeting, and I always say this, Tim, but we've got a Castle on side. I love seeing Castle. Always means that you get some interesting things being done by the defenders, certain lanes being opened up, areas of the map being locked down. The downside being there is both a Hibana, there is a Sledge, there are plenty of things on this team going as far as the Selmas or the breaching charges, just everything that can deal with those castle barricades and may not be left standing for too long. But like we also remarked back on Border, sometimes it's in the attacker's interest to leave them up, as it gives them control on the other side of those castle barricades, knowing that no one can just come charging through. I mean, in some cases, yes, they can, but very fair chance you'll hear them long before you see them, and even longer before they shoot you.
Quick progress on the hard breach there from SSG. They've got in very quickly and opened up one of the walls into meeting, so that's at least good progress inside of 30 seconds. I think that happened hot and cold. He's looking to drone out that top floor, make sure nobody's up in T3, quickly establishes that and can move his way on down. Cons is on the rear stage stairs though, so that drone of hot and cold needs to make sure that it's going up and picking Cons, because otherwise, if they don't and they try to push in, they could well come foul of that shotgun.
Good. Psycho Ashen, I feel for him a little bit. He's been found first in a couple of these rounds. I think it was the previous one prior to us coming into the rehost where he opened up the floor underneath bunks, and then Wizard spun around and shot him through the floor, and it was like, yep, good night, see you later. And there's a lot of like, I don't want to say pressure, but a lot of hype piled on top of Ashen, who's seen as the new upstart in NA, the kind of new wonder kid potentially coming in, and he's certainly got the energy to back it up, but maybe not quite the consistently strong performances yet to back up that line of being one of the up-and-coming legends in NA.
Folks just holding that long angle, not going to find anybody for the time being. J9 taking down the castle barricade, and SSG just continuing to work away at this utility. But NIP is still pretty much stock still at the minute. They're happy with their positions, obviously, and they're just waiting for SSG to play on into them. 1 minute 10 left to go, and I just feel like NIP, they need to be careful that there's not maybe a bit of overconfidence in their positions.
I mean, for NIP, it's like, well, until we're forced to move, we're not going to move. Like, we've got our ideal positions. We're happy where we're holding. Until SSG make us move, what reason is for us to step away? We've got really good crossfire set up here. We're holding key spots that control large parts of the map, or at least upstairs we have. So why worry about it too much? And Psycho there clearly not figured out that he was playing on this hatch. And against him, these have been pretty static positions. NIP haven't had to move very much, yet they are absolutely slamming the American side. Cons, a 2K playing around Big Tower. Hot and Cold's got it all to do. And sadly, they are going to see your legs first. A very comfortable round for NIP with 4 still standing at the end.
I warned about Cons a minute into the round. Hot and Cold was droning down there. They must not have picked him up properly. If they did pick him up, they didn't do anything about him.
He was just waiting, right?
Yep, they didn't do anything about him. And just like I said, with the shotgun, he's got himself in a perfect area. Rear stage stairs. If you're playing with a shotgun operator, your main focus is to get yourself into those sort of close quarters situations. You want to narrow the distance to your enemy as much as possible and avoid those long angles. And rear stage is a great place to do it. It's all tight little turns, moving around. He uses one with the SMG, second with the shotgun. Just really well played. Moves himself in and out of meeting, has his rotation. Cons just completely dominated that area of the map, held off any push from SSG, and you know, went a long way towards winning the round for NIP. There was great play elsewhere. I don't want to overlook Psycho on the hatch as well. Kept himself firmly pressed.
Here it is.
Didn't panic when the nade came in. Dropped down the hatch, got the kill. Just really good stuff from NIP.
Well, for a second, I thought we were going to see the Ying come out there, but nope. Instead, put in the back pocket. Forest stepping away from that one, fought this downstairs. Execute. We see it used so often through E-Box. Now, last time we got very stuck on the hatch tip. We've got the Thatcher on side again. We've got 4 hard breach gadgets in back pocket. It's the same lineup again, as they know that the mess up wasn't really down to what they brought to the round. It was just down to the execution of how they get that hatch opened up.
Yeah, the Thatcher should be sufficient, to be honest. That should really just get the job done. Should.
I will stress that word.
The Thatcher should be sufficient. We'll see what happens as time ticks by here, but I would be surprised if the Kaid is allowed to get away with that again. Wizard is going to have his work cut out for him. So all of NIP are downstairs. We've got one on the freezer stairs again. It's Cons with the shotgun just playing aggressive there. And we've got Hot and Cold and Ashen are working from this side of the building, so they're going to look to get themselves into security. I don't know if they're going to pressure freezer stairs themselves at the time being. Just open that freezer hatch. It will likely force Cons back because he doesn't want to get stuck at the bottom of freezer stairs and isn't then able to move under the hatch once it's been opened. So that should likely clear that out. They've got the track stingers at the top, so they don't really need to worry about freezer anymore, and then they can focus elsewhere, which is likely going to be that laundry hatch and meeting hatch.
Right.
Here we go.
Here we go, team. It's easy enough. You roll down one against the table, that's it.
There we go. Surely.
It just caught that one as it came out there as well, but I think it still would have gone off regardless there. But this time round, they show the respect. They time 2 of those Thatchers together and they get the hatch opened up. Now we get to see what that execute earlier should have looked like, Tim.
I have faith in SSG. I said that it wouldn't happen again. I said that there was the sort of team that would, you know, not be making that problem, not be making that mistake twice, and I was right. They're going to try to open up the wall onto Shaco's spot, but it's actually going to be taken out. The Grim wasn't the factor there. They thought that they needed to stop it coming from the storage side, but it was indeed Wizard that was playing through the rotation hole to take those Selma charges off. So that's going to enable Muzi to stay in the Shaco spot, and it could be dangerous. Wizard manages to get one inside a bunker. It's J9 that gets taken down, and Muzi is still in charge at the bottom of the stairs. Leaves it as long as possible before taking out the Vulcan canister, and this looks good from NIP once again.
And just catch a little bit damage onto Fultz as well, who was sat halfway up tower stairs. For now, that will burn out. Still got a barbed wire to chew his way through when he starts the march on forward. A couple of bees spread out in towards bunker itself, just to make sure there's no one hiding away. And you can see them now attacking the defender there as well. Cons just being swarmed by them. However, 2 kills come through. NIP once again looking pretty comfortable. Fultz finding at least one. Forest tries to back away from this one, and sure enough, run for the hills, my good friend. As there are 4 players in NIP still left, and they may well just use this, Tim, as a bit of an unofficial timeout. As once again, they've stalled out on this basement attack.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Sometimes with time left on the clock, you'll wait and see if you can maybe pick up a kill or 2 and make your life a little bit easier, but I don't think that's what this is here. Forrest recognising that he missed a little bit of an opportunity there. Cut down by Wizard. That's going to be NIP taking another round, and the dangerous thing that I just saw in that round from NIP is them winning those gunfights again is creeping back in. It's sort of reminiscent of the first 3 rounds of Border where they were winning every gunfight. And the one that particularly got me, I don't know who it was from the side of SSG, but there was one of them moving down Laundry Stairs and they pushed in and they were aimed, they were trained ready on Closet, and Psycho just came across with the Vector and just absolutely decimated them at the bottom of Laundry Stairs. And that sort of play is going to make life very, very difficult for SSG because there's nothing that you can do about it. Yeah, absolutely. That was the one that I was talking about. It was hot and cold actually moving across the bottom, and yeah, they just, as we see from those replays, NIP are just winning a lot of the gunfights there.
They are, and I thought we may see attack timeout after that round. If not now, then it's definitely going to be after this round. I think you can't be going into that second half 5-1 down. You've only got 1 attacking round on your own map pick. That's a real screamer, and you're really betting on NIP not being able to really achieve anything on their attacking side. Otherwise, it is going to take Clubhouse to see who walks away the winner of this game, and that one is anyone's guess as to who walks away on top. So I'd like to see, if they don't win this round, get the attack timeout in, get for that sorely needed second attacking win for SSG, and then at least going into that second half, you've got a bit more breathing room.
As I said, coming in, you can't expect NIP or any Brazilian team to be slouches on Oregon. You know that they're at least going to be moderately capable, and I think NIP are showing a much better level of understanding than that at the moment.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Ashen managing to take down Wizard, though. Early battle there, and on the finger, he's able to just juice himself back up as well. Will take more damage at the end of it, but still lives to fight on.
I thought Cons was going to go for the ladder then. That's a massive risk if Ashen was still hanging around the window. Or not, he could have just got him shot from further back, and there's a drone underneath his feet that knows exactly what he's doing, so probably wants to try and get out of there before too long. Otherwise, well, SSG are going to have his skin.
Cons is indeed going to get himself down the wow, I was going to say that, but he's not for giving it up just yet. He knows that there's still somebody on the window, and it is Ash, and he's kind of waiting for these finger boosts to come back online so he can heal himself back up. He's got above 50 now, and Cons finally is going to disappear down into the basement, but we saw this earlier. He wasn't really tracked down and dealt with by SSG, and he came back to give them a double later in the round. Now then, he knows that Forest is there. Who wins the fight? It's Cons, and he keeps himself off on the roam, and SSG, they're going to have to deal with him.
They are indeed. At least gets rid of the alibi from behind the shield, which is something, I guess. At least the shot drone doesn't walk away empty-handed, but it is taken out. And that fight down in basement, I think Cons has played that so well around Big Tower. You know, 2 or 3 times he was stepping back in towards Ashen just to keep him asking questions and having to burn through his own utility. But look at this, they've tried to make the push in, and they've been absolutely wiped out by NIP. It's going to be a 4-on-1, Tim. Again, I think SSG need this timeout so sorely here to rebalance this.
Yeah, I'd agree. Just things absolutely running away from them at the minute. NIP going from strength to strength, and as you saw at the end there, Muzi just chaining kills together for fun almost. Cons, they were unable to lock him down and deal with him, and just one after another problems for SSG here. Really needs some work to get this one leveled out.
They do. I think we've got a quick disconnect coming in for a player there. So tech timeout is in, and we're back into things in just a minute.
Well, SSG is not really going to help them too much in terms of they can't have that discussion that they would for a tactical timeout. They will have to stay silent whilst we get this sorted. But it might just break that momentum a little bit, if nothing else, and just help them to at least maybe come back into it with a new mindset, a new frame of mind here. But SSG, to be fair, Des, if they can get, I know it's their map pick, but they're on the attack of Oregon. We do expect usually Dawns and Laundry to go to the defenders, so that leaves you with a 4-2 half. So if they can get this last attacking round and go 4-2, they can at least be confident that maybe they can get themselves to overtime. it's their map. You know, maybe on the defense they think they can actually get it done and get themselves a 5-1 half. Who knows? But for me, this round is crucial for them. They need to get this one done at least. 5-1, I feel like the best you can hope for then, realistically, is overtime.
I think as you can see since the rehost as well, just looking at the kills on the side of SSG, I'll talk about kills a lot, but 3 kills inside 3 rounds, really not the one. So this is the round where SSG are the team from NA, really. If you want to see them pulling out crazy plays, pocket plays, or a little bit of cheese along the way, they are the team to watch. They'll run things like the Blitz, the Ying, even the Amaru, as you're seeing here coming out of J9O. Also got the line on side alongside the Nook for Forest. So good opportunity here to do a little bit of magic, I think, and to potentially catch NIP off guard, get that 6th round that you need. It's quite clear at this point that playing air quotes normal siege is not giving you the rounds that you were hoping for. So I'm all for trying something a little bit crazy to try and get it over the line.
Bit of rotation around the outside there. Hot and Cold going to open up the green corridor window. Whether he goes in through there or not will be anybody's guess, but he may well look to head on in. Fultz is going to be in garage but rotating up to master balcony, so that would suggest that SSG are going to be looking to play onto game wall. Forest manages to pick up with a good start for SSG. Exactly what they needed. Like I say, really, they need to be picking up this round. I think he just knows that there's going to be more pressure coming in from meeting. There's actually 2. It's Psycho and Cons that were playing in there. Oh no, Muzi and Cons, sorry, that were playing in there for NIP. Asher manages to pick up Pino 5 versus 3, and the 2 that were elsewhere for NIP need to be careful because Psycho, he's in sight on his own and could be overwhelmed here.
Very easy. They realise this on drones. They can just rush into him at this point. You're hoping that Fultz is going to find that out, but Hot and Cold is still trying to play ring around the roses with the last player holding on the upstairs. Forest still where he started. Inside the classroom, has no idea. Apparently they have no idea. They're next to each other, but Forest is the one to get the kill. Psycho's all alone, and turns out a slightly wacky comp Tim is the waves to a victory sometimes. They get that 4-2 half, and for me, maybe not quite that excited, Asham, but at least it's promising for SSG going on to the defence.
Yeah, I don't think that's now terrible. I think you've got your 2 attacking rounds, which is the minimum that you want on Oregon, to be fair. As I say, I think SSG would have been, you know, obviously much happier with the 3-3 or better, but I think 2-4 is not the end of the world. I think they will be confident to lock down on their own site, Laundry and Dorms, so that's 4 rounds for them if they do that twice each, and then it just leaves them in the balance on that 3rd choice site. Can they get a meeting or a dine in lockdown?
Can they? That's the big question. For starters, though, things inside of the basement, Tim, it's where all teams love to start. And admittedly, what I thought we might see coming out of SSG in that first half may well be the specialty of NIP. That's assuming that Psycho sticks on the blitz, that we don't see the Ying attacker repit back in, which may well be the case. The Pino moving over towards playing that. Much more the sort of style of comp I'd expect to see again coming out of SSG. But NIP are the ones here looking to play it.
Let's see how much of a presence there is out in the map for SSG. That could be one difference to what NIP did. NIP played this side completely turtle. It worked very well for them. They didn't have any sort of roam presence, top floor or anything else. J9O's just disappeared off the rear stage stairs, so I don't know how committed he's going to be to a hold out in Big Tower. I think he's just on his way back down now, so maybe not too much. He's going to be sticking around rear stage for the time being, maybe just try and prevent an early push into that area and just keep hold of pillars. But yeah, pretty much turtle look from SSG. Not too much of a presence anywhere else on the map.
Absolutely not. Slow and steady wins the race, and SSG, for now at least, trying to keep NIP slower than usual. Yeah, NIP we've always regarded as one of those teams from LATAM that seem to be slower than all the rest. And there are a couple of others now that you look at and say, actually their play style has slowed down quite a bit. They're more like NIP than arguably the more hyper-aggressive, rapid-paced attacking LATAM teams of old. But NIP, I think, still holding to that title of being quite slow. And for SSG, the lower that clock runs, the higher chances are of them winning this round. We've seen teams leave things quite consistently to the last 10 to 15 seconds and pay the price when the smallest of mistakes get made in the execute. But here, the execute for me, Tim, is going to be a pretty aggressive push in, making use of this blitz. There is no reason to bring a blitz unless you are looking to play aggressive. Otherwise, you may as well bring the Ossa or a Monty, for example.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, the Monty was taken out of play against Psycho, but he just says, that's fine, I'll bring blitz instead. No problem at all. I would expect to see the blitz maybe being used to push into elbow. That's the position that Psycho finds himself in at the minute. He's just going to hold on bunker for the time being while Cons and the others work work across this top floor and just try to get everything opened up and get into a position where those defenders have been moved around. And then Psycho pushes in, tries to take elbow, and they push into rear stage, they push into pillar, and they move forward from there.
An easy one this because there's no Kaid on side. Hatch is opened. And now, this is where you start to see NIP's attack coming in together. What it is they're looking to try and do. Psycho is positioned out towards blue. He's ready to come for the push when the time starts. He's joined by the Thinker out there. You've got Pino playing inside a meeting, Wizard looking for a potential backstab down Big Tower, and Cons also looking for a meeting drop. So a very heavy north to east side push coming into this site.
Yep, and here we go. Psycho is going to push in and look to take elbow. Can he get his man? Forrest manages to escape, but he does find one onto Fultz. Pino as well onto Hot and Cold. It's all going in favour of NIP. SSG can't stand up to this sort of pressure, Des. It's 3 versus 1. Psycho's just bullying the last man. Takes down Ashen, and that was just perfectly timed attacking from NIP. What a round. They just were absolutely clinical going in through bunker onto elbow. Timed to perfection after they'd done the work on that meeting, Hatch.
I think the amount of agency that Pino had when he came dropping into pillar after he got through E-Box was the one. He opened up so much. He was threatening in towards highway. He was looking in towards sight. He found the initial kill on pillar itself after the Candelas had come on through and he dropped on down. And so whilst all this distraction was happening around highway, you had one player from SSG tucked in highway in the northeast corner. You thought for a second he might try and swing in towards sight to try and deal with Psycho, who was charging in towards the rotate to find a Rooney. But instead he's so preoccupied by Pino, who for me really was the cornerstone of that attack. But as you say, really well timed, really well coordinated, and NIP make that attack look easy.
Well, it's not looking good for SSG now. I tried to paint a picture of positivity, which I always try to do coming into this, you know, the fort.
Just look at this player who's sat inside of highway here, just completely blind out to it. Pino's found one, swings around for the second guy here as well. Just again, really good linchpin moment. If not finding the warden inside of highway initially from Psycho, that's the kind of stuff that you want. So really, Pino and Psycho, again, the two real driving forces in that round.
Yeah, it was a really nice attack from NIP. And SSG, as I said, coming into that, you know, the positive angle was that it was, you know, 4-2 and they could go onto the defence and at least do the same in return. But NIP taking away one of their primary sites is a massive blow to that hope, because now, if you're SSG, you need to be finding at least 3 or 4 defences consecutively, realistically. You don't want NIP getting themselves onto map point. So they've just lost a lot of the wiggle room that they had.
No.
But how about that? Muzi going in without proper information, and Ashen, he's going to cut him down for free and he's going to escape with his life. Not a problem.
I don't know why is he there is in Portuguese and Middle East. I'm not even going to try, but I imagine that's exactly what Muzi was screaming. Why is he so deep? Why is he so far away from his team? Why is he that deep inside of dining when they're defending on the top floor inside of Kids' dorms? Like, you'd expect him to be around Trophy or around Attic. At the very most, maybe he lurks around showers and is trying to dig in for a bit of a rat play, but not that aggressive inside of dining. And it's an aggressive play, well rewarded by Ashen. Such a good position to find and an easy pick off to get. And the most important thing here is he's then dropped away. He hasn't tried to hold that ground. He's got a kill, he's happy with it, and the boys are now happy to play from a man advantage.
Yeah, Pino's droning himself at the moment. Cons is at the bottom of White Stairs along with Psycho, so there's going to be a lot of attention. I'm surprised nobody's up on double window yet, just to help you know, add the pressure to that side of the site so that the Ashen and others can't push onto the top of White Stairs. They are going to force the man down out of security. It's Ashen actually that drops the hatch into Freezer. He's going to have to move himself back all the way around underneath.
They know how frustrating it is to go chasing a rat through the sewers. Ashen now rising elsewhere around the map, looking in towards lobby, looking up towards Armory, potentially with the ability to now join and challenge around Trophy itself. Has got to be careful. You know, Wizard had those floor holes that he could make use of around the bed to be able to challenge him as he moves back up, but I don't think they had any idea that he was pushing that way up, Tim. Oh, no. Okay.
Pino, I think, thought he had a bit of information there.
We've seen about 3 of these in our game so far. These self-made.
A shield up above inside, so I don't know what the aim of that nade was, to be honest, because there was no player there. So it certainly wasn't based on information, but Pino cooks it for too long anyway. Was once told a very wise line of, how long do you cook an aid for? Well, you hold it until you're scared of it, and Pino should have been a little bit more scared.
And he's like, well, the problem is I'm fearless, Tim.
Absolutely fearless, but it doesn't pay off for him that time.
It would have opened up the flooring and given the angle in towards the pit doorway as well, so you could stop anyone on the defensive side either using the rotate easily, they have to be very careful, or from pushing in towards concrete itself. So it was a good idea. He's just paid for it with his life, and SSG looked pretty guaranteed to win round 8 here, bringing it to 5-3. And then once again, we step into that very critical round round, that round 9 point, where one team is 5-3 up. Next round will take them up to 6-3 and make that comeback almost too impossible for SSG, or they win to bring it to 5-4, and suddenly things are back on and it is ridiculously close.
Yeah, they need to. They'll no doubt go back down to laundry, I think. I could be wrong.
Huh? Say again, Ashen?
Maybe they choose their third choice start. I don't know. We'll see what SSG do coming into round 9. But if they take laundry and they get it locked down, then it's sort of no harm, no foul. As I said, losing that first primary site could be a big blow to them if they're looking to go 4-2 in response, you know, or better. Losing your first choice site, not ideal. If they can lock it down now, it's kind of like you've lost your third choice site, except they will have to go there in round 10. So whilst it's maybe not quite as good as getting them done first time, it at least doesn't put you in sort of too dissimilar a situation.
Looks like another one-player DC now. Get the rehost done and get us back into things. We'll keep you guys updated as we go along. What made me laugh with Ashen there is, you know how someone's a real good team player? They move the mic out of the way before they scream at the enemy team. Yeah. They don't blow your eardrums out whilst attempting to do some little kind of like, I don't know, someone's trying to scream at the other side and do something to them. Not instead blowing your own teammates' ears out.
Yeah, I've got a bad habit of that. I get a bit. It might come as a surprise to you, Des, that I just get a little bit too excited, and it takes.
Oh man,
that was way too long. The indicator practically wasn't flashing anymore. It was just a solid white line. He was asking for trouble.
Oh man, he absolutely was. But like I say, respectful, takes it out the way for his team. That's what it's about. I think you and I both, like, I scream like a little girl sometimes.
I'm a nightmare.
When I get excited.
Yeah, because, I mean, as a joke, it's no surprise, really. The excitement just takes over me and I get carried away. And, yeah, when I'm playing ranked and stuff, if something big happens, I'm exactly the same as I am when I'm casting.
Can lead to a hell of a lot of fun. Well, brief interlude, as we said. Quick technical timeout in case you are just joining us. It is 5-3 to NIP currently, but SSG are up 1-0 on map. So it's not the end of the world if they lose here on Oregon. It is their map pick. You would hope they would come out on top. But if they don't, Clubhouse awaits as map 3 to decide which of these two teams are on the first plane home tomorrow morning and which one carries through to tomorrow for a shot at getting into our live finals on Friday. The job ain't done. There's still another best of 3 to play tomorrow, and that really is your reward for falling down 0-2 or whatever it might be quite early on, as you do have to battle your way up from the bottom end of the bracket.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as this is the problem with Swiss, you know, for teams that get to a best of 3 point, get to that elimination point, it's then best of 3s all the way until you've survived. It's like all or nothing. And if you think about it, then the teams that qualify through to the live stages, like G2 qualified yesterday, they've had a couple of days off. Yeah. Meanwhile, there's other teams that'll get there that are playing a best of 3 each day on those days. You know, that's going to have an impact. So there can be quite a big reward, really, for going through early like G2 have, where you get that time off, you can watch these games, you can study the teams that you may well be playing against when you come to those quarterfinals. Meanwhile, they're having to prep for, you know, Monday, Tuesday games. They're having to play best of 3s. They're going through the ringer with, you know, maybe going home, maybe not. And I'm sure it takes its toll on those teams.
But it's one thing that G2 did remark in the post-game interview was like, our only worry now is that we are cold for a number of days, is that we aren't playing competitive games the same way that these teams that are battling through the lower bracket have got to. Admittedly, they play up until Tuesday, which will be tomorrow, and then they've got to wait until Friday to play the next game. So all teams might be a little bit cold by that point. But the reason, for example, why we're not tri-casting this series with Titan, as we did earlier on for the best of ones that we had, was they had scrims this afternoon. Yep. So still taking it very serious, still locked in, still trying to stay warm. But obviously we'll see if that turns out to be the case come Friday, and we'll find out what their matchup is, as we will all the others, after all the games have concluded tomorrow, where we have 3 best of 3s to enjoy to determine the final 3 teams joining us for the live finals on Friday. Here we go then, Tim, where things are back underway here in round 9. Again, big round for me. Either it becomes 6-3 or it becomes 5-4. 2 very different scorelines, and you might look at that and go, well, Des, any other round is the same. A team either gets 1 round closer or they get 1 round further away. Yes, but I think the psychology of being sat at 6-3 down gets quite scary, and maybe you'd argue maybe not because of how Sonics versus BDS went earlier. It was almost a mammoth comeback by Sonics, but BDS had just built up far too much of a lead and managed to close things out 7-5. So I'd love to see SSG win this round, keep it close, keep it competitive. Otherwise, I think NIP can just run on towards a win.
Now then, they've got Fultz out in the map a little bit. Forrest has got an awful angle there on Commander. I don't think he's going to get any joy. NIP aren't really heading in that direction. J9O needs to be careful. J9O's led prone at the minute, and as the push comes in very, very quickly, he could well find himself caught out, but he does manage to wriggle himself away. But I like this from SSG. They get, you see, he just misses his shots. Forrest had the opportunity there, and then gets cut down by Pino as he tries to run away. I was just saying how I liked it from SSG. They were getting out in the map a little bit, just trying to cause NIP a problem, but no, it's all gone wrong. They've lost Forrest, and NIP have the opener. They're 5 versus 4.
I love the initial use of the ram by Pino as well, just tossing one in through the door, because I didn't actually realise the recovery time when you've picked a gadget up is that quick. Like, Tots sits through the door, his gun was basically straight up and he swung hard and towards the left. Fultz sees the Capitao as well, so got to be careful he doesn't get shot. I won't say shot in the back because everything's been reinforced up behind him, but they know where this push is coming from.
Just going to be keeping an eye on the Capitao, who's likely going to go and get that meeting hatch. Doesn't look like there's going to be any denial on there. We don't have the Kaid this time, so that's going to be nice and free for them. Ashen does move up though and is using, is just getting, well, he's not using it himself, but he's getting that information from Fultz. They're watching for the Capitao coming back, and if they do, Ashen's going to punish them.
Just switches away from the camera as well to turn it off temporarily, so it isn't dead obvious in the face of the attackers that, hey, there's a camera here, look at me, as it flashes away. Sure enough, I believe that camera stayed alive. It's a good placement by Fultz in this round because none of them have been dealt with yet by NIP.
They don't know about Ashen. He's moved himself up to the 2nd level, and they're completely unaware of it. The drone didn't go up and check. He's going to come down here, and as soon as Cons tries to go anywhere near rear stage, or anybody else for that matter, Ashen's going to have a field day with them, so keep an eye on him. Psycho does go and recover the diffuser. Looks like it's going to be a laundry push, which might actually save them from Ashen. No, he manages to find Cons. That's a good one, 4 versus 4, but the rest of the push continues from Laundry, and kills come raining in. But SSG, they're standing up well to it, Des. It's 2 versus 3. They just need to keep fighting. Pino manages to get hot and cold, 2 versus 2. And NIP are turning it around. Pino almost single-handedly.
Ashen's got to do a lot here as well. Again, so much hype around this guy. Now's the time to show that you can live up to it. Not to be the case. NIP up to 6 and 3. Map points. They're definitely giving Ashen some back.
Yes. Musi and Pino, one of the oldest, I don't necessarily know in terms of age, but in terms of experience, one of our oldest, duos really inside of competitive Siege. Musi and Pino have been working it together for a long time now, and they continue to do the business down on bottom floor there. And SSG's inability to hold the primary site on their map choice is potentially going to really hurt them in this matchup. That's 2 rounds down in Laundry that they have lost, and that is a tough one. NIP, I think, got a little bit lucky after Ashen managed to hide himself away on that 2nd floor. If they had pushed the rear stage, they lost the Hibana to him, but that was all, so it didn't really matter. Cons got taken down, but NIP had already made the decision to push down Laundry, so by the time that came in, all Ashen could really do was just go back downstairs and join the fight. He wasn't in a position to flank them realistically, so it was just unfortunate and a little bit lucky for NIP.
And Pino with a great push through, finding 3 for himself in the round as well. A lot, 2 of them, I think, from inside of Cubby. Just deals with this rotate back extremely well, even if the firefight did come in from J9O first. Just Pino having a bit of a god round overall. Now, SSG are going to try again down in the basement here. After that timeout, they realised, look, okay, Pino's had a bit of a life round. It's going to happen. Now what can we do to restore order, get the win on the downstairs? The battle then, Tim, is they've got to then win 2 other sites to force it not to a win, but to overtime. Like, this is a big ask from SSG, and this is why I always say that round 9 is so important. At 6 and 3, it feels like a bit too much to ask for SSG, who have been struggling so far.
It's a tough site choice for them, really. If you sat at home thinking, why are they going to Laundry again? They've lost it twice already. SSG can be forgiven. They don't have dorms available because they won it in round 8, so they've still got to have a 2nd round away from there. Laundry, it's a rock and a hard place. You either go to Laundry or you go to your 3rd choice side. Personally, I feel like when you've lost Laundry twice, I kind of feel like maybe you just give your third choice a go. It can't be any worse, can it? But ultimately, I don't think there's really any right or wrong choice here. And obviously, SSG feeling like they can course correct and they can get the job done. They're going to be getting a couple of those EDDs placed downstairs, maybe just hope for NIP. You know, they're sort of already planning for NIP getting onto site, though. That's the only thing I don't like about that. It's sort of like already accepting that, NIP are probably going to get control and walk into highway, so hopefully they get taken out by the cap cans.
I mean, map 1, they banned away the Monty. They haven't had to deal with it all map long, and now Psycho opts to bring it out in what could be the final round. Joined in, of course, by the Capitals, as mentioned a few times. Also got the Ying on side, so very strong execute capability here, you know. A fair few smokes to sit and play behind, lots of Candelas to go off as well. It could be really oppressive as long as NIP have all 5 alive, come round to the execute time. But again, given the comp coming out of SSG, it looks pretty dug in. A lot of very slow operators on that team.
Yep, J9O's likely going to be bullied down rear stage stairs. I think he hears the Monty coming, so he backs off. He knows that he's not going to be able to stay in position there. And that's good work from NIP. Obviously, Monty, one of his primary goals, one of his primary missions is to get in there and move people around, make them uncomfortable. His second is to provide information. So he's telling his team that rear stage is now clear. And when the time comes, he will likely push down and Psycho will clear out Pillar and Meeting as well.
Bombs coming in, one of those smokes being dropped in. You'd hope at this time you'd see the rest of the utility fly in, but it's more of a bait than anything else to see if there's a reaction from the defenders. And the answer is no, there is no reaction. Monty working in down Freezer, the rest gathered up around Hatch. You can see that he's very much going to be an attention soak here. Almost dies out to utility side of things. Just stand in the doorway here, draw a little bit of attention and see what comes next. Here comes the execute. Smoke is coming in. We've got the fire coming down. Everything stepping on forward, but Pino hits the deck, Tim.
4 versus 3 now as hot and cold. He's on low health, going to be taken out. Muzi manages to find him. 3 versus 2. And NIP is starting to swarm. Fultz picks up Wizard. 2 versus 2. They're trying to hold on. SSG need to find kills. And it's the Capcan traps. I picked up on them. I said, you know, maybe it's a little bit negative. You're almost expecting them to get into sight. You're accepting that they're going to get into sight. But NIP, they fall foul of it, and SSG won't care, negative or otherwise. It gets them the round, and it keeps them fighting.
Yeah, really thought NIP had that one in the bag, but the late round cap cans, Tim. Silent but deadly for the vast majority of the round, and when they strike pretty true. Imagine we'll see a similar sort of thing coming out here as well. I mean, that last round I was looking at and I thought, okay, the Ash coming along here, why that over something like the Finker? Because I think the Finker in these all-in executes is so powerful. The top up HP that it brings, for example, just to all push in. We saw it with the Blitz earlier on in the round as well. But the Ash more leaning in towards, I think, trying to get rid of things like the shields and also to help burn through some things. Has the ability to open up verticals with those breaching charges. So a small stylistic difference there, but did think we'd see the nades coming in potentially from Muzi.
Top floor it is then. SSG were able to win this last time they played it back in round 8 it was that they played it. Ashen opened things up for us with the kill onto Muzi, and then they were just in the driving seat from there on in really. Pino naded himself as well, which was obviously a little bit of a support to SSG, but I don't think that they can rely on the same sort of mistakes this time. A lot of pressure came from small tower side from NIP last time around. I think it's probably going to be the same, although Psycho has spawned out on street, so whether he's maybe going to take the push up into Armory to begin with, pressure onto Trophy, we'll see where he chooses to go.
Imagine if we get towards overtime, we'll see SSG starting on the defense as well. This was their map pick, not forgetting, so NOP opts to start in defense, and then in OT, SSG get to pick the side. It'd be silly not to pick defense at that point. So really for NIP, there are 2 chances here to get this game closed out. Otherwise, coming in towards overtime, I can see SSG taking it away, to be honest with you, Tim. Really want to see them close things out here and take it through to that 3rd map.
Yeah, you'd love to see it, wouldn't you? It'd be an absolute treat between these two at the minute. Wizard is on the hard bridge, looking to get onto Master Balcony. Needs to be careful, though, because there's a Valkyrie camera watching. And as soon as he goes onto that rappel, they're going to know, and it could be that SSG make the challenge at that point. I think the real difficulty for SSG in getting this to overtime now is that they're going to have to go to a 3rd choice site. Let's arguably say that they win here in Dorms. They're going to then have to close out Meeting or Dining, whichever is their choice. Con Cons. He's looking to get established at the bottom of White Stairs and just shaping up for a little bit of a sort of multi-sided hit. Psycho's just hanging around outside of front door at the minute. The rest of the team are shaping up on the white side of things, so it looks like they're going to try and pressure from multiple sides at least.
They're just really nervous about Forest. They know that he's not playing up on site and they've seen him off on their own, but just aren't sure where, and it's why you had 2 players from NIP posted on lobby door for so long, was hoping that eventually he would rotate back towards site and try and work his way up Armory. Simply wasn't to be the case though. He is being patient as a saint down inside a basement at the moment. Maybe leaving the striking point until a bit too late in the round if you see NIP pull off and execute here, but now he's started his move up Freezer. NIP look aware though.
Forest could be in a key position here, going to hold himself on those freezer stairs for the time being. Psycho searching for the nade underneath, not going to have any joy with either of those, so now we'll head his way up Armory stairs, taking out the prox alarm as he goes, but that's just going to give away the fact that he's coming. Wizard unable to hit that shot. 45 seconds left to go, and NIP could be running low on time here, and Forest, he could have a big impact. He's going to have a look, and he manages to find one, sticks around to have a look for a second, but he won't get any joy, but damage could be done there. Psycho taken down.
Again, whether it's Castle, Solus or Valkov, really enjoyed seeing Forest playing these roaming roles, especially when he's playing down in basements, for example, across these last couple of maps. He's played the role so well. Sure, he's not consistently putting up 2Ks and 3Ks and solo-handedly winning rounds, but he's getting the odd pick here and there that really just chips away at the setup that NIP have got. And now they're down to 3, facing off against 5. They're flashing themselves on the push on through. It's a flawless round coming out for SSG. Bring us up to 6 and 5, Tim. This one could be going to overtime.
Pretty straightforward finish to the round there. By the ends of it, SSG knew exactly what was happening. They had players underneath, they had players in sight, and NIP had no choice but to walk straight and willingly into their net to be closed out for the flawless round. So a great finish there from SSG to take us to 12. It looked at points like we wouldn't reach this stage of the game. It looked like NIP would already have us on a map 3 by now, but SSG, they are not keen to go to Clubhouse. They just want this locked out here and now. It's their map choice, and if they get one more round, it's going to have to be in meeting, but it will take them to overtime.
So cheeky for Forest. Again, really admire the way he's been playing this roam game. It's been extremely patient. You see a lot of roamers playing a very active game, you know, getting very mobile around the map and always looking for openings. Even Jane at home starting to feel it. I love it. Everyone's getting into it, and that's what we want to see. But again, yeah, I think the way that he's been playing the own game has been fantastic so far. Would love to see that continue. Patience has been the name of the game for him. Not really been able to get involved too early on, because NIP, as you've seen time and time again, have normally got 2 guns chasing him down, drones running everywhere. Eventually they have to give up on things, but his impact really has been felt out on that roam game. Here we go though, last round of regulation. It's going to be an exciting one, Tim, because if they win this one, we get overtime. If NIP win, then that map 3 is guaranteed. And Hot and Cold, trying his very best, almost finds Cons, who takes a little bit of chip damage, but nothing to be too worried about.
Would have been a perfect start, wouldn't it, taking the Thermite down? It's always what you're looking for. You can't pick them when you go for the spawn peaks. They would have had the backup of Pino, of course. He is on the ace, but still it would have been a big loss. That is a big grab for Wizard, because it's going to allow them to take that wall. Unless a Bandit battery is replaced, which I don't think it's going to be, it will allow them to take that wall from Garage side, which makes it pretty difficult, because that's a key area that defenders will often use to defend towards rear stage, and you get that wall open and it can be dangerous.
This is some really good blitz rushes in towards here.
Beautiful from Fultz.
Well, that's going to be a little bit of a kicker, isn't it?
I love that. Well played.
I mean, this is the danger. Thank God it was the Selmas on there and not an exothermic, otherwise that's a very dead Thermite. But similar to what we saw Forest doing, he's now drawing attention down into the basement. So NIP have got that choice to make. Okay, we've got a lot of time to play. Are we willing to invest a minute or so trying to pinch this guy downstairs, or just deal with him when he resurfaces? And it's going to be a real frustration for them.
NIP still just shaping up to decide exactly where they're going to attack from. Most of the numbers now are stacking up round rear stage and Big Tower. Psycho is still off out towards one side. Maybe can apply a little bit of pressure from dining into kitchen. But it looks like at least the majority of the push, the diffuser in the hands of Cons, is just outside rear stage, and they're going to try to move in there. But it's not going to be easy, because SSG are shaped up and ready for this. They've got the wall open. They've got the long angles. Fultz is down, and I don't think the drone has picked him up. If he's been misdrawn, Fultz could be decisive in this round.
Psycho, I think he's being mindful. Someone can wrap up through a small tower as well and jump out on him here. Or not maybe so much mindful, but There's an option for the player that's been lurking out there. I believe it's the castle of J90 that's been playing around towards Small Tower, but Psycho, he's long moved on at that point, rejoined up his team, so that window has passed. J90 really making sure the west side of the map is locked down. Everyone else, though, is so heavily focused on meeting at this point. And Constant stepped round. I thought he got a down them for a second, but not really to be the case.
Fultz has been taken down underneath. That could be big for NIP. They've managed to get that lurker out of the way who could have really done them some damage, but they did lose Cons along the way, and it puts the diffuser down in no man's land. 35 seconds left to go. They're going to have to recover that case, and they're going to have to play on in. Psycho knows there's one behind, but he loses the fight. Ashen steps out from the podium and absolutely slays Psycho, but Wizard, he's there to find one of his own. And that leaves us now 3 versus 3. 20 seconds left to go, and NIP are going to have to start rushing. That's exactly what they're doing. Wizard surely gets the kill onto stage. He will. That's 3 in the round. J90 could have something to say about it. He's going to have to.
No way.
It's 1 versus 3. It's 1 versus 1 after a quick double. And with the time ticking down, there's absolutely no choice. Pino, he has to stick this. J90 can't get the angle. Can he see him as he comes off that diffuser? Pino uses his experience. He keeps himself down, but he moves his legs out. J90 spots as much as he needs to. And Des, we're going to overtime.
They've absolutely smash and grabbed this one back from the brink of defeat. I'm going to say defeat, I don't mean out the series, but the map would have gone down, we'd be going to Clubhouse. Here, they've got a golden chance to close things out in 2 maps. What a play from J90, and I'll give it to all the SSG boys. The patience shown on their own, whether it's Fultz, whether it's Forest, whether it's J90, it's been absolutely sublime, this map.
And the reward for getting themselves to overtime for SSG is their start on defense. And that has been the advantageous side. But where do they go? They struggled with Laundry. They got it done eventually, but they only had 1 win in 3 attempts. I think they will be heading down to the basement to kick things off, but it's not going to be easy, and I'm sure that those ghosts will loom large in the mind of SSG when they go down here for round 13.
Well, quick technical timeout before then, as you can see. Got some replays up for you to take a look at. Massive play how he transfers to spray down here as well towards the guy on his right. Just, it's kind of unfortunate for Pino as well. He had basically no HP. A shot to the foot was enough to get him injured.
Let's go!
They absolutely love it.
You've got to manage your energy. You always want to stay in the middle, Des. You don't want to be too high or too low.
As we go into overtime, we have, I know, absolutely. We've got Fresh coming for this one as well. Fresh, what a crazy game this has been so far.
What an absolutely crazy game it's been. And I think for Oregon, it's been quite mistake-ridden on the attack, to be fair. Both teams have been very slow. And when you're very slow, you've got a choice. Do you leave the round down to time and try and do everything correctly? Or do you skip a couple of steps and not do everything correctly and then get found out? And I think that's why we've seen the defenses be so prominent. So when we get into overtime, what I want to see is the attacks having better information, going a little bit quicker in terms of their pacing. Whoever does that will be the victor. If nobody does that, then I guess it's whoever's starting out on the defense.
I mean, the straight and narrow as well is that who's got the advantage going into overtime? You default towards the defenders, given how well they've done so far in SSG. But is there something else that maybe NIP have got here that you think gives them a small upper hand over SSG?
No, not in all honesty. Look at Psycho right there. He's not looking too happy with himself, is he? I think, you know, and just SSG, J90 particularly, we've not seen clutches like that since 6 Invitational, so glad to see he's been on a good run of form, but he's not needed the clutch fracture right until just then.
Are you sticking with your prediction? Are you going to see 3 maps here? NIP are going to fight it back just to wind Jesse up, or is this an SSG 2-0?
It's looking more and more like an SSG 2-0, let's be honest.
Well, let's find out shortly, shall we? Fresh, thank you very much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Looking very cozy over there, Tim. It's enjoying a little bit of fresh analysis, some fresh thoughts.
Always love to hear from the professional, from the professor.
The professor.
We need to think of some more.
What else can we slot in there? Yeah, in fact, chat, while we're sat here waiting, if you've got anything good, get us on Twitter, let us know. We've got professional, we've got professor.
Yeah, we need more.
Anything with fresh in there that suggests that he's really good at what he does. Fresh section, fresh. That's a dangerous set of letters to put that close to each other. Fresh exceptional.
Fresh-ceptional.
Fresh-ceptional. See, I was going for the full exceptional and kept it in there. Fresh exceptional. Yeah, okay.
That's not what you said. Right, let's get get back into this. It's 6-6. It's overtime. It's round 13.
Try and come up with words is always a bad idea because I'll say it and just completely get tongue twisted the first time round.
Oh dear, oh dear. Right,
keep
round
them coming,
13. Here we go. SSG start on defense. They are indeed going to go down to laundry and basement. The big question for me at the minute is, do they turtle up as they have done previously, or do they get out in the map? They cannot rely on a double cap can kill at the end of the round again. Let's remember, that's what won it for them last time. It wasn't looking great, but then NIP went in and just walked through those explosives. So SSG can't rely on that. I'd like to see them just maybe play into, you know, NIP's age-old problem of time. Force them to full clear the map. Force them to take all that time. Get the traps out there. Just make things difficult for them.
And Muzi is on the march, straight in through showers with the drone at his feet from Cons, just getting themselves established out here on the west side of the ground floor. You can see pretty much every player on the side of SSG is dug into the basement, except for J90, who's doing what every lovely player likes to do. Poke your head up around this tier 2 area of Big Tower, take out a drone, drop back towards site. It's one of the freest drones you will get in your life, because you're always going to have a drone coming in first, looking to figure out if it's safe to enter the building, which means you're guaranteed a freebie onto a drone, and then you can get back towards site. What I do like so far, though, Tim, already half the drones have been taken down. In fact, 6 of them. And there's no Solus on side. It's just through sheer catching ability of the side of SSG. Make that 7. Ouch.
Going to be forced away at some point, but doing a good job there, really. Spending a minute and a half up there at the top of rear stage stairs and just preventing that access. Wizard does manage to just run straight in now. We will get the hatch open. Won't be too much of a problem. There's no denial on the other side. So SSG currently shaping up 5 on site. They're all playing very, very close to each other. I'm just a little bit concerned about their ability to hold on for this long.
Well, NIP's last execute onto this site was excellent, like really good flooding. Admittedly, a lot of it was on the back of Pino, and they also had Psycho playing on the Blitz that time round, where he charged in, through down to elbow, down and towards the Aruni, who was sat in round rotate. It was just an excellent execute. This time around, it's a little bit different. Still got the same flavor with things like the Ying on side, but there are going to have to be a couple of changes here, and really it's that Capitao and those firebolts that can help.
Jenano holding on to pillar for the time being. He's going to dip back into highway, but the wall will be open above. He actually moves back up, and as the utility gets sent in by Psycho, NIP are not actually going to follow that in for the time being.
Whoa.
The drop is going to come instead through meeting, but Boris just times that nitro perfectly. Muzi trying to work him from bunker, but it's all going SSG's way. NIP are on the back foot. It's 2 versus 5. Psycho, he's going to drop down. Damage done to Muzi here, and NIP, they're struggling to hold on. 20 seconds left to go. The final kills come in, and what a start to overtime for SSG. They're going to hit NIP for a flawless round.
T-1 round, Tim, before liftoff. They are that close to turning this map around. It looked like it was going to be a surefire NIP win, but SSG have really clawed things back. They've got that overtime advantage because they start on the defense, and they're looking now potentially to 2-0 this game. NIP in with their tack time out here. This is the last chance saloon, Tim. Oh, they're going home.
I tell you what, these are going to have to be some words of wisdom here to turn this around. You've just got a feeling that it's sort of like on Border, it's just come later on. You got that feeling on Border like it had just sort of got out of control for them, you know? NIP were unable to hold on. SSG were just winning every gunfight. They were just really on top of things. But I'm getting that feeling again here. And honestly, I wouldn't put it past SSG to come out and win this on the attack now.
Nope, I think they could. I mean, both teams have had some prowess on the attacking side. It's just been a case of when you've seen that really shine. And I think as we've seen and spoke about for NIP, seeing the Blitz coming out has been a wonderful example. If we're attacking on the downstairs, I would love to see SSG bring out stuff like the Grim, like the Ying again. Maybe even see that Blitz in there if they're being particularly fruity coming into the attack. And we'll see what it comes down to when it gets into that. I imagine we are on the downstairs. Yes, we are. Seems to be the go-to site. So they know that this is really the fortress of this map. This is the site where teams love to default to, and sure enough, Tim, at least with how things stand so far, you've got the Ying, you've got the Grim, and you've got the Blitz. We are in for an explosive finish here.
Just remembering as well, let's not forget back on the first map on Border, NIP took a timeout when they were 6-5 down, when they were facing map point, and they lost the next round. It wasn't enough for them to save the game. So we'll see whether this one has any more effect They are going to be defending downstairs. We saw, as you say, Psycho, you already talked about the push we saw from NIP back at the beginning of their attacks, where Psycho was on the blitz, went in, cleared elbow really, really well. Really nice round from them. You know, this time SSG are building on that with the Ying as well. This is not going to be easy for NIP to hold on to.
It is not, but it does normally start with the hatch being opened up first inside of meeting. We'll see if that starts out. This has got the right idea. He's looking for a drone, exactly the same way that we saw J90 doing in the last round. But SSG have managed to preserve the drone. They've got the stiff of him. They know that he's holding onto the doorway and he has to back away very soon. Otherwise, they'll be swinging onto him cold and just going in for the kill. Hot and Cold working his way across from inside a small tower too. No doubt heading in towards one of these hatches, I expect, to help his team get that opened up. But note here, he hasn't got the hard breach gadgets in back pocket. This time round, it's those smokes. And they've got 4 of them to play behind. They've got the Candelas, they've got the bees. There's so much that they can just drop into the site here and cause absolute havoc amongst the NIP ranks.
Yeah, they're just getting themselves set up at the minute, drawn in, making sure that the map is clear, looking to get a hold of mid-floor, I think, so they can get those hatches open. They will, at some point, look to get rear stage locked down. J90 is currently in the process of that as Fultz and Hot and Cold work across through kitchen and security. Ashen is in main lobby as well, so again, dealing with hatches. It's all about prep, and basically this whole round is going to come down to stage 3. It's going to be, you know, stage 1 and 2 is map control and getting yourself prepped for execute onto site. That is all going to be free for SSG pretty much. Once they've got everything cleared out, it's going to be about that 3-2-1 go.
I think Forrest is trying to draw out that utility there. He's done the right idea. Look, everyone on NIP is back. It's panic stations. The assault is coming. They're getting ready for it, as you said, Tim. They've still got half the round to play with, so it's not really like SSG are forced into a bit of a panic here either. But we've seen this a lot on this map and on this site in particular. Very, very defensive setups, and Forrest, again, he just keep on poking his head forwards, draining away Wizard's utility, so when the push does come on through, he's in a great spot to make it happen.
Yeah, the Vulcan canister will be taken out there, so that's just going to hold them at bay for a few seconds. Bees are going to do their job, ping out one of the players, few pot shots go across, Forrest is ready to go, he's just waiting for the call here. Smoke canister goes in, isn't really going to do him any favours, the Candelas go, and it's now or never for SSG, they're going to have to start pushing. Forrest manages to clear Muzi out of elbow and continues on into side, gets himself a second, surely this is it, as Fultz gets another along the way. SSG, they are heading for the live stages, and there it is, a flawless round back to back in overtime, sends SSG into the late stages of the Atlanta Major as they qualify for Phase 3.
Really look like NIP might get in the way of their launch, but the sky's cleared. And as you say, they still proceed themselves forward. For NIP, it's home time, I'm afraid. And I'm afraid there's no space shuttle to take you home this time around. Ashen has been one loud little bugger that whole game, but you can understand why. And Forrest, I'm so glad we got to see most of that POV. Took large and in charge of that site there. The blitz has been so oppressive on this site today.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic play from SSG in those last few rounds. You know, we said that they did the same on Border, really. They had a tough game through the map, but were able to just fight their way back in. And I tell you what, anybody watching this who's going to play SSG later, take note of their resilience. Just because you think you've got them beat, it doesn't matter. I honestly thought that we would be heading for a map 3 there. I thought NIP were going to lock Oregon out at points, but no, SSG just refused to die. They refused to be beaten. They just kept fighting their way back in. Fantastic performance from the North American side, and I really enjoyed watching that. I'm looking forward to seeing more of SSG.
Different squads, but same result as we saw back in 2020. And I know for NIP, they started to warm into this tournament. It started slow. They started getting a hell of a lot better, but still more to be done.
Well, who'd have thought it? I honestly thought we were going to see Clubhouse, in all honesty, but what a last 2 rounds, both of them flawless, I think.
Yep.
I'm struggling in all the excitement to remember if 13 was the flawless one or whether it was 12, but there was certainly a couple of flawlesses there towards the end, and NIP just seemed to lose their head a little bit.
They did, and unfortunately that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, but I hear Chubbs is on standby for an interview. Over we go.
Designace, thank you so much for your wonderful casting as always, and we are now with Chubbs, the coach of NIP. It's certainly been a roller coaster ride. I just want to ask you, what are going to be your big takeaways from this major?
Well, I think this tournament taught us several lessons that we can improve. We were always talking about this is the best preparation for Six Invitation that we could get, and we definitely learned a lot of lessons that we need to improve if we want to win a site, which is our great goal. So, for me, that's it.
You've played a lot of rounds this tournament because you played a lot of rounds through phase 1 and obviously into phase 2 in the best of 3s. What is your biggest takeaway? What are your biggest lessons heading to the Sixth Invitational?
I think like we didn't punish it several steps on defense, especially. We didn't have like a lot of improvements on the follow up from the second drone, so that made us play in a really slow play style more than usual.
Yep.
We got punished for very different play styles that we are not used that way. Like, so we need to adapt because some of bands that we were making, we made like too low like adaptation. We didn't adapt the way we should, so we got really predictable, and that's something like we must improve for the Sixth Invitational.
You're a deeply loved team. I mean, one of the biggest names in Siege. Is there anything that you want to say to your fans?
Oh yeah, thanks for cheering for us, and chill. We are not like leaving before the finals on the Sixth Invitational. I guarantee you that.
Chubbs, I'm liking the confidence. You know, I'll be honest, I saw your team walking away. They looked a little defeated, obviously, but you seem very positive. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, it always sucks to lose, of course.
Yeah.
But neither you win or you learn something. And this tournament we learned a lot. And like I'm pretty confident like what we can do for the Sixth Invitational. Like seeing the level of this tournament and how much teams can improve, I think we got a upper hand, especially in Brazil. So yeah, I'm 100% confident.
It's also Siege. You never know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Well, Chubbs, thank you so much for that fantastic interview, and best of luck with your future.
Thank you. See ya.
All right. Chubbs, a fantastic interview, as always, a fabulous coach. We're very happy to have him on the desk with us, but we got to pivot here and talk about the winners. SSG survives, sending NIP home in 2. Their time here over, but there is still hope for SSG. Super excited. And J9O, man, I don't know where to begin. That was absolutely thrilling to watch. I mean, honestly, do you feel relieved? Are you eager for more now?
Definitely a little bit of both. Yeah, definitely want to keep on going. And I'm glad we're still alive. Definitely a bit of relief as well.
A great feeling for sure.
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason why you guys are still alive after such a fantastic map number 2, that play that you got on meeting round 12 on Oregon, we're going to take a look at it here. You want to walk us through this a little bit. Tell us what was going on.
Okay, so I didn't realize that this guy was close, but he still got shit on, unfortunately. And then, yeah, I ripped on the castle. I think he thought that I was still in meeting after I ripped on the castle, but then I went where I was before, so yeah, worked out pretty well.
It was clean. It was clean, and you
almost looked as enthusiastic as Ashen in that group, by the way.
Yeah. But you guys really pulled it back on both maps. You know, you started down both times.
Yeah.
Bring it back to Border for me, right? You guys go down 0-3. Call out calls that attack timeout. What did he say to you guys?
He said to kind of just get more in their face. Like we were just giving them so much. We were letting them do what they wanted to do. And yeah, overall, we just had a good adaptation in both maps, honestly. We just adapted well, and then, yeah.
Yeah, and for the second half of Oregon, too, you guys didn't get exactly what you wanted on attack. You got 2 rounds. On defense, that basement bomb site felt like you were struggling to make that one work. Can you talk about maybe the different things that you were trying on that bomb site and what finally broke through for you?
Well, first, defense on basement, they ran the blitz. We weren't really expecting that. Second time around, they did it again. And yeah, I think like third time we knew what we had to do to counter the blitz, and they ended up not running it. And then we knew our anchor was just like solid, so decided to rerun it.
Not bad, not bad. Well, listen, man, you guys have played really well throughout the tournament so far. Obviously, you guys are now 2-2. You will be playing on the final day as well. A lot of NA has gone home at this point. Yeah, you guys fighting to make it to that main stage. You know, what do you think the competition's been like so far, and how do you feel you guys are matching up so far towards the other NA and international teams?
I think the competition has been great. I think, yeah, there's no real like super weak team. I think they're all really good. I think going forward we'll be solid.
Nice.
Last question. You know, people have been sleeping on SSG a little bit, I think. Is there anything that you want to tell the teams that are still here?
Watch out. Watch out.
Oh, I love the confidence. Jane, I know, fantastic victory, fantastic interview. Thank you so much.
Thank
you
you,
go
guys.
enjoy that win.
Thank you, guys.
Repping NA for us. Appreciate that.
Hey, we love it.
We do love it. Bringing in a huge NA fan, massive, I mean, out of control NA fan, definitely rivals you and I, Jesse. Fresh. I don't know if you heard any of that. Yeah. Oh, man. But yeah, just looking over my shoulder here and just seeing SSG right now, they're definitely all smiles, and obviously a big reason for that. You know, we talk so much about their mental game, Fresh. Did SSG get funky? Did they loosen up? What do you think?
I think they showed very, very strong mental and trust in each other. You know, it was another scrappy game. It could have been a lot better in terms of the pure fundamental siege, but they got the job done. And that shows a good level of trust and a good level of mental fortitude. You know, the fact they were so far down, managed to make that comeback. We said in the first map with Border, the fact that they managed to come back after the timeout.
Yeah.
So that's a very, very good thing that they need to hold on to and use to their advantage.
And I think it's undoubtable or undeniable that NIP, they made some mistakes that game, right? We had a self-nade. We had some Capcan traps come through. We had the 3v1 throw final on round number 12 there to J9O. But the big thing is the SSG, you know, they capitalize off those moments, right? One nade kill doesn't win you a round. A couple Capcan traps don't win you a round. Being in a 1v3 is obviously not going to win you a round, but they took those moments. They were able to capitalize off of them. They turned them into successful moments either before they happened by setting that up into a 2v2 when they ran into those Capcan traps, or by continuing to apply that pressure, continue to get in their face, as J9O said after that self-nade. We always saw SSG capitalizing off of that, getting aggressive, making sure to keep that pressure up on NIP, even when they were on match point, making sure that it was never easy, that they never gave up, that NIP never had a free round is what secured SSG this comeback.
I think that SSG was adapting and flexible, but frankly, NIP made some goofy mistakes at times. Am I wrong, Fresh?
Yeah, no, like Jesse said, there's too many individualistic kind of mistakes that NIP made. It's not on SSG to necessarily force those mistakes, but they will absolutely take them, and they absolutely capitalized on them. And, you know, it was so close. The 1v3 clutch to get us even just to overtime is, it's a little bit fortunate, but the good thing is, even if they'd lost this map, they'd set themselves up well by winning their opponent's map. And again, showing that mental fortitude.
Yeah, and I mean, again, you know, we looked at the end of the back half of this 5 rounds straight to finish it out for Spacestation Gaming. NIP on match point for nearly all of those until they got to overtime. I think for NIP, you know, we heard in the interview as well, the exit interview, they talked about going for SI, getting back to basics, right? Coming through and being powerful inside of Brazil. I'm hoping we see them work on that mental a little bit more. Obviously, they brought that coach coming in today, the mental coach, to help them out, try to work on that area. They clearly know it's an issue. I think undoubtedly it kind of hit them in this game a little bit. You don't throw 2 maps and not talk about the mental. But I'm excited to see what they bring for Six Invitational. Obviously, that'll be in Brazil. We'll see NIP there, and they should put on a good show.
Okay, real talk. Could SSG win this whole thing? Are their hopes too high right now?
Did they say they were going to win the whole thing?
No, I'm just saying. Let's be real. Am I being mean?
I think one step at a time.
Do you know what? If you roll back about 15 months ago, we was in Charlotte, where we was in a North American major, where North American teams ended up winning it. The crowd will give them a buff. If they can get through tomorrow, the 2 North American teams that would get through will be buffed by the crowd. This is a team of very high quality players. This is a team that trusts each other and has mental fortitude. Even if some of them, you know, the core fundamentals have been sloppy, they can increase that, they can improve that. It's about how you finish tournaments. So I'm not saying they're going to win it, but, you know, they're in with a shot.
How many times to say? In Siege, you never know, right? And talking about you never know, we have a very, very exciting, thrilling matchup ahead of us. It is D+ versus Wolves, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.